What's going on, everybody? It's Bucky and welcome to your very first Java tutorial. Now in this tutorial, before we begin writing any programs, we first need to download something called the JDK. And for all you new Java developers out there, this is the program that lets you actually write Java and actually compile it. And compile just means transferring it from code you can understand, the code the computer can understand. So just follow me, and by the end you'll be able to write Java code. So the first thing I need you to do is go ahead and open up your internet browser right here. And once you have that open, I'm going to use Firefox. Go ahead and go to the website java.sun.com. And this is going to give you Java's main page. What you want to look for is the download link, and this is going to give you a bunch of different Java editions to download. You're going to want to go to the Java SE link, and this stands for Java Standard Edition. So go ahead and click that, and what we're looking for is something called the JDK, and this stands for Java Development Kit, so we can write and compile Java programs. Now we just want the top one, which is a standard one. This EE stands for Enterprise Edition. This NetBeans is something else. We don't want that. So just go ahead and find the standard basic edition and click download. And once you click that, it's probably going to bring you to a new page. Let's see. And yep. And it's going to say Windows, which we want, English, which we want. Go ahead and agree and press continue. I already have this downloaded, so I'm not gonna download it again. That would just be stupid. But once you download it, it's gonna give you an executable file. Now, your executable file is gonna look something like one of these. This is something else I downloaded, but it's gonna give you a file like this called exe. Once you get that file, go ahead and double-click this, and that's gonna start the wizard to download the JDK. Now it also might give you a file on your desktop right here, like put it somewhere right here. If it's right there, then just double click that, and once you do, a wizard's gonna pop up, and you're probably gonna have to click like next 40 times and press I agree to some stuff, next. But once that's all done, then you're gonna have the Java compiler downloaded. Now let me show you guys what the Java compiler is. If you go to your start menu, then press CMD and press enter, your command prompt is going to come up. Now what this allows you to do is have access to your Java compiler, and again, like I said before, the Java compiler allows you to transfer code that you can understand to code the computer can understand, and that's what we just downloaded. So let's test it out. Java C, press enter, nothing's working. And nothing's working because the Java compiler, it has it downloaded, but whenever you try to use it, it doesn't know where it is. So let me show you guys how to do that. And again, pay very close attention to this. Hopefully you downloaded it with all the default settings. If you didn't, then well, you're still going to be able to see what's going on. But go ahead and in your start menu, click on computer. Now go ahead and click the local disk, or whatever your main hard drive is. Then go ahead and click program files. Now you should have a folder called Java. Go ahead and click that. Now go ahead and click the version JDK. If you don't see this, it means you didn't download it right. So go ahead and click that, JDK. The next thing and last thing I want you guys to do is click on the thing that says bin right here. And remember, you follow all these instructions very carefully. Next, right click on any of these things right here. Just click on your topmost one. Remember, right click it and click properties. Now this is where you're going to tell Java to look for your compiler. So it says location. Go ahead and copy all of location, right click it and copy it. It should say something like C, program files, Java, your version, and say bin, the last thing. Make sure you get that bin. That's very important. If you're not, if you don't see it, then do this tutorial again and do exactly as it say. Anyways, you want to see that bin. So once you have this golden code, that's what we're looking for. Go ahead and X out of that. Now that's where the compiler is. So how do we tell your computer to look there? Well, go ahead to click My Computer again from your start menu, and click properties. Remember, you want to right click it and click properties. All of these are very important. Go ahead and click advanced system settings, and probably a little message is going to pop up if my computer is not freezing, and it is. So my computer, properties, advanced system settings, there we go, continue, and you're gonna see something in your system properties called environment variables. Go ahead and click that, and pay attention what I'm gonna do here. What we want to do is create a new user variable, so go ahead and click new. Now the variable name for this, you have to write path, P-A-T-H, and the variable value is going to write where that compiler is. Remember that link with the bin. So that's why it's really important that you get that link. Now go ahead and click OK, and bam, click OK on this, OK, and you now have your compiler set up and ready to run. So go ahead and go back to your command line, and in command line go ahead and type javac, and unlike before, we now have a bunch of crap that pops up, and this crap means that our compiler is ready and set and ready to go. So now, with that being said, we know that we are now able to write Java programs. So in the next tutorial, I'll show you guys how to do that, but for now, just follow this tutorial. That's how you install Java on your computer, so you can actually write Java programs. If you didn't follow those instructions exactly like I said, you're not going to be able to write Java programs on your computer. So make sure to follow this tutorial very carefully, do it exactly as I did. I know it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it'll be worth it in the long run. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you get Java installed. If you have any questions or I wasn't clear on anything, just send me a message or leave a comment, and hopefully I'll get back to you. So again, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have Java installed, and in the next tutorial I'll show you guys how to write our first Java program. So thank you, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. What's up everyone, it's Bucky. Welcome to your second Java tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to run a Java program. Now I'm not going to be teaching you a lot of the syntax about what's in a Java program. Before we do that, we actually need to know how to run one. So pretty much you're just going to be copying me write a simple program, and then you're going to be learning how to run it. So go ahead and open any editor. I'm going to open Notepad++ just because it's my favorite one. And go ahead, and the first thing you want to do is go to File, Save As, and we want to save this in, remember, whatever location. I already made a file on my right off my hard drive. In there I have a folder called test, and I'm going to save this as, let's save it as YouTube.java. And of course that .java is very important, and don't forget where you're saving this. This is also important. So now we have a file called anything.java. Mine's called YouTube.java. Now I'm pretty much just going to show you a simple hello world program. Again, in this tutorial I'm not going to be showing you like how to write Java. I'm just going to be showing you how to run it, and in the next couple tutorials I'll show you what everything means in it. But for beginners, just follow me. The first thing you need to write is a class. Now a class in Java, pretty much in Java everything begins with a class, and if you don't have a class you can't do anything. So you can't do anything until you create a class. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a class called apples, and in that class we're gonna have something called a method. Now again, you don't really need to know any of this stuff. I'm just making a simple program. I'm just talking you along. You'll understand what all this means later, but for now just stick with me. Now in your class you're gonna have something called a method. Now a method is pretty much a list of things to do, and this method is going to be inside the class. Now the first thing your computer does is whenever it runs a Java program, it looks for a method called main. So let's go ahead and create that, and you do this by clicking public, static, void, main, and all of these actually mean something, but again, don't worry about it for now. I promise you'll understand. Then in your parameter type string args, args, and put empty square brackets. And I don't know if I can copy this code in my description or not, but if I can, I'll put it in my description. But I got a feeling YouTube's not going to let me put code in for security reasons. Next, after in your method, you're going to want to have to put a statement or instruction about what you want your computer to do. So go ahead and write system period out period print ln, and what this does is pretty much print a line on your computer. Now in your parameters, go ahead and write whatever you want. Hello YouTube. Now go ahead and save this, and you can go ahead and find a Hello World program from somewhere on the internet. Again, I just talked to you guys through that real quick. I promise this isn't even part of the tutorial. The tutorial is just to show you how to run this. So I'll be teaching you what all this means later. So go ahead, and this is where the tutorial really begins. Go ahead in the command prompt, and the first thing we need to do before we run this program is actually compile it. Now when we compile a program, it pretty much takes what we've written and changes it into something called a class file. Now your computer can't read any files called .java. It can only read .class. So that's a compiler's job, to take that .java and change it into something .class that your computer can understand. So right now what we need to do is find this file, and go find it. You use something called cd \, and what this does is take you to the very beginning of your hard drive. And this is just a quick tutorial if you've never used command prompt before. Once you're in your C drive, press dir and press enter. This is going to give you a list that's everything in your C drive. As you can see, one of my directories or folders is called test. So let's go ahead and press CD, which means change directory, to test. Now we are in the test. So again, from your C drive, press CD test. Now press dir and see what's in this. And let's see, YouTube Java. So how do we compile this YouTube Java? Well, once you're in your test, go ahead and press Java C, which means Java compiler, and then press YouTube.java. And this means, alright, use the compiler on YouTube Java, and then go ahead and press enter. And what your computer does is, now if you press dir, we now have a apples.class. So what it does is take that Java file and change it into a class file depending on whatever you name your class. Remember, I named mine apples. So now that we have a class file, a file that the computer can understand, we can actually run this program. So let's go ahead and type Java, and that means run this program, and then type in the name of your class, which is apples. And now when you press enter, it says hello YouTube. So that's a quick tutorial on how to run simple Java programs. And again, I can't stress this enough, don't worry if you didn't get that Hello World program. That's not even the tutorial I wanted to teach you guys today. The tutorial was learn how to run these simple Java programs from your command line. And in the next tutorial, I'm going to be clearing a bunch of things up. So just practice running a simple program. I suggest you just to go ahead and copy a Hello World program from the internet somewhere. And once you do, just practice running it. And if you have any questions, you can just send me a message on YouTube or leave a comment, and I'll try to get back to you. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully now you know how to run a simple program, even though you don't know what it means yet. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next tutorial. What's up everyone, it's Bucky, and welcome to your third Java tutorial. Now in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to download something called an IDE, where we're going to be writing our Java code. So again, there's one more last thing I need you guys to download, I promise, and then we're actually going to start programming Java. So in the last tutorial I showed you guys how to create a program in any notepad or any text editor, and how you can run it from your command line. But the only problem with this, and it's kind of a big problem, whenever you have a program like this in a regular text editor, and say you have like a 1,000-line program, whenever you try to compile it and run it, if something's wrong with it, you have no idea what's wrong and you don't even know where to look. Therefore, it's sometimes useful to get a better editor just for Java, made specifically. So that's why we need to download something called an IDE, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. Go ahead and open up your internet browser, and go ahead and click eclipse.org. And Eclipse is pretty much a special text editor for only Java. So once this loads, go ahead and on the main page you're going to see something called downloads. Go ahead and click downloads. Now this is going to give you a couple downloads to click from. What you want is either the first one or the second one. I got the first one just because it includes a little more. And go ahead, and if you're on Windows, go ahead and click Windows. And what this is going to do is it's going to download an Eclipse IDE, and that's pretty much a text editor for Java. I'll show you guys what it is in a little bit. But where it's going to be is if you go to Computer and then go to wherever your downloads are, you're going to have something called a zip folder. What you need to do is extract. You're going to have a folder like this right here. What you need to do is right click it and press extract all. Then once you click extract all, it's going to give you a little wizard. Once you extract all that information, you're going to get a regular folder like this. This is pretty much like compressed stuff, and to get all the information out you need to extract it. That's what you do with any zip folder, by the way. Now once you have your regular folder, you can double click it, and now your Eclipse program is in this. And it's the little one that says application with a little Eclipse logo next to it. And what I did is I right clicked it and I created a shortcut, or you can press send to desktop, and this gives you, instead of having to go through your computer hard drive, you have a nice little shortcut on your computer right here where you can just click it and start writing Java programs. So again, it's just a basic download. I just want to show you guys, walk you through it a little bit. But once you do all that, you have the Eclipse program on your computer. So double click that and your Eclipse program starts running. Just select the default workspace, anyone is fine. And what this program does is allow you to edit code. So another cool thing about this, it has a compiler built right into it, so we can just run our code right from the same program. You don't have to mess around in the command line. So what we need to do first is go ahead and press File, New, Project, or Java Project, doesn't matter what one. Go ahead and press Java Project. Now you need a project name. I'm going to name mine Bucky, and go ahead and press Next, and then go ahead and press Finish. You probably could press Finish, but now you have a project named Bucky, and it just puts everything into a project. So you can, if you're working on like a different Java thing for a different company, but for here we're only going to be working with one project, so we only needed to do that once. Next, you have a project called Bucky on the left hand side of your screen, and go ahead and press this little arrow and it decollapses or expands this little pane, and you're going to see something called a JRE system library and a source. We want to work with the source file, so go ahead and right click this and press New Class. Since we want to create, if you remember, everything is in class in Java, so go ahead and click this, and you got to name your class something. Go ahead and I'm going to name mine Apples, and go ahead and press Finish. Now as you can see, it already starts writing the code for us, public class. Now I'm not going to be teaching you how to write code in this tutorial. I already have a class named Apples from last tutorial, so I just wanted to get you guys set up in Eclipse in this tutorial. So let me go ahead and paste a program I already wrote. It's the same program I wrote in the last tutorial. And now once you have a program, I'm just going to show you guys how to run it, and then in the next tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to write everything. How to run programs in Eclipse, what you do is press this little circle with a triangle in it, and that says Run. And if you go ahead and press that, what your program does is just go ahead and run as Java application. Go ahead and click OK, OK, and down here it just runs your program. So that saves you a ton of time from saving it, finding the path, going in the command line. This is about 8,000 times easier than using a command line. So again, follow those instructions. And I want to show you guys one more reason why this is useful. In the command line in Notepad, if we had an error, then it would just mess up and it wouldn't tell us what's wrong. In this one, say instead of system we wrote syst something like that. That isn't a valid code, so whenever we try to run this and press OK, it says error exists. And then down here it says, alright, where does it exist? On line 3, right here. So you go 1, 2, 3, here's where your error is. Bam, you know exactly where it is and what you need to fix. So again, Eclipse is a really powerful tool, and that's the last thing I wanted to teach you guys. And now we are finally ready to learn the Java language. So now that you have done all of that, make sure to check out my next tutorial where I'm going to be teaching you what all this crap finally means, and finally how to write the Java language in syntax. So again, I want to thank you guys for watching. I thank you guys for sticking with me running all of these programs and getting Java set up. I know it's a pain in the butt, but thank you guys. And again, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next tutorial. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your 4th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to be writing a basic Hello World program. But before we get started, let me point out to you guys one thing. Now, I told you guys at the point of downloading Eclipse was to check for errors, and whenever you get those error messages, it's going to say what line that the error is on so we can fix it. But the thing with Eclipse, and it's odd that it comes default like this, by default it comes without showing the line numbers. So before we get started, let me show you guys how to do one thing that I know a bunch of you guys are going to send me messages asking me how to do. In your window tab at the top, go ahead and click on Preferences, and then your Preferences tab is going to pop up. Go ahead and expand your General, Editors, Text Editors, and once you click that, it's going to have something that says Show Line Number. Go ahead and click Show Line Number, and go ahead and click Apply. Now, if you guys could guess what this did, it wouldn't surprise you. Showed the line number right there. Now we have our line number, so whenever we get errors, which we're bound to get, we're going to know where to go and where to fix them. Now, as promised, let me get to the basic Java programming, which you've all been waiting for. Now in Eclipse, once you create a class, it already starts writing some of the code for you, and it creates a class. Now again, I know I told you guys in the last tutorial, but let me stress why a class is important. In Java, everything begins with a class. So if you don't have a class, then you don't have Java. Or excuse me, Java. I don't know what the heck you have if you don't have a class, but you need one in Java. So again, everything we're going to be writing in this tutorial is going to be inside your class semicolon. So make sure you're not typing out here or anything like that. And I'm going to be telling you guys exactly what a class is later, but for right now, all you need to know is to type inside it. So just bear with me here. Now inside your class, the first thing we're going to make is something called a method. Now what a method is basically a recipe on how you want to run your program. Now the first thing your computer does when it runs a Java program is it looks for a method called main, and if it doesn't find the method main, it has no idea where to start. So in your computer in Java built in is the instructions to your computer. Alright, the first thing I want you to do is look for main and start there, and from there I'm going to tell you what to do. So since that's the case, the first thing we need to build is a method called main. So let's go ahead and do that. So before I even start with that, I want to teach you guys what the basic layout of a method is before we can even start building main. Now I told you guys method is pretty much like a recipe, so let's go ahead and pretend we're writing a method now. Say we had a method called bake cake. What this would be is the method header right here. Again, the method header is pretty much a substitute for the method name. So bake cake is the name of the method, and this is also called the method header. Now inside your method, or inside your recipe, if I will continue with that analogy, is all the steps that you need to take to bake that cake. So for example, one would be mix batter, and the next one would be put in oven, and you probably have some other stuff after that. eat the effing cake. Sorry for cussing. But again, this is called the method header, and the instruction of how you want to do things is called the method body. And all of this together, the head and the body, that's called the method. Who would have guessed it? So now that we know pretty much how to name a method and how to put statements inside a method and what they are, let's go ahead and write a basic method. And again, I told you guys all about main before, so let's go ahead and do it. Go ahead and write public static. Why isn't public lit up? Oh, it says oblique. Public static void main, and then in your main put parentheses and put string args and then put square brackets. Now again, all you have to pay attention is this is your main method right here. All of this stuff, it's important, and I'm going to be telling you what it means, but I don't have time in this tutorial to tell you what it means. So again, this is what did I name it? Bake cake. This is all this is. And I know that you see a bunch of different keywords, and trust me, just bear with me. You don't need to know them right now. So just copy as I do and as I say. Is that even a saying? I don't know, but just follow along. Now that we have a name of our method, we need to give it some instructions. And all we want this method to do is print something out on the screen. So let's go ahead and write system dot or period. Why'd I write period right there? That's kind of embarrassing. System dot out dot println, and after this you want to go ahead and add parentheses and write hello YouTube. And I know I spelled YouTube wrong, but who cares? Now write a semicolon. Now let me tell you guys what I just did. Println is a built-in method, and what this is going to do is print a line out on your computer. Now if you're saying that, you're probably asking, alright, how come I needed to write system out then if this knows how to print a line? Well, print line can actually is pretty versatile method. It can actually print line to a database, or print line to your network, or print line to other things. But right now we want to just print it to our system. So again, I'm pretty much just telling you how to work with Eclipse right now, so just bear with me right here. Now once we have our method built, we want to go ahead and run this. So go ahead and click this little button on the right hand side of your screen, and it's going to run the program. Go ahead and you get this, click OK, and at the bottom right here you get something called hello YouTube, and again that's what we pressed. So that is how you build a basic method using, of course, your class, what you need, your method header, and your method body. And again, your method header and your method body together creates something called a method. Who would have guessed it? So that's your first tutorial on how to create a hello YouTube or hello UITube program. And I know you guys don't know what everything means right now, but I don't have time to go through every one of these things. Every one of these things, these keywords right here, actually takes an entire tutorial to describe. So just bear with me, just stick with me for now. And now that you guys know how to create a basic program, I can begin teaching you the more complex stuff. And yes, Java is a entirely, completely complex program. So just follow along with me for now. Type this out, and once you got your program working, you're ready to go on to the next tutorial. So I want to thank you guys for watching this tutorial. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, just send me a message, but if not, just move on to my next tutorial. So again, thank you guys, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you next time. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 5th Java tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be talking to you guys about something called a variable. Now what a variable in Java is pretty much like a placeholder for something else. Now if you remember from math class back in like 7th grade or whatever, whenever you had a variable and it was usually named something like x, you could have it set to a value like 73, and then whenever you used x in a program or a calculation or something, x would take the value of 73. And that's pretty much the same exact thing a variable does in Java. You assign something called a variable name to a value, then whenever you use the variable, people know that it's not really the variable, but it actually stands for that value. So let's go ahead and make one of these in Java. Now, to make one of these in Java, the first thing that you need to do is tell Java what kind of variable you're going to be working with. And there's a bunch of different kinds of variables you can work with in Java. You can use integers like 3. You can use integers with decimal points like 3.14. You can use letters like S. You can use strings of characters like Bucky. And so once you have that decided, you need to have a way to tell Java what kind of variable you're working with so it doesn't get confused. So what we're going to be working with today is something called a double. Now what a double is it's a keyword that tells Java, alright, you're going to be working with a number, but this number can have a decimal point as well. So after you tell Java what kind of variable you want to work with, you got to give it a name. So let's go ahead and say we're going to be working with a variable called double, and we're going to name it tuna. Now after you have a variable called tuna, you need to give it a value. So go ahead and write tuna, which is the variable name, and then go ahead and press equals. Now what equals is here is something called the assignment operator, and what it does is assign a value to tuna. So what value are we going to assign to it? Let's go ahead and write 5.28, my favorite number, 5.28. So here's what we did so far. We told Java that we're going to be working with a variable called tuna, and that is going to be a double, meaning that it has numbers on both the left and right hand side of the decimal point. Again, an integer is only a whole number like 8, 10, -4, and a double has a fraction like 5.28, 8.18. So again, we told that tuna is a double. It has a fraction. Next we said, alright, what's the value of tuna? Well, here's the name, here's the assignment operator, and here's the value. Tuna equals 5.28. Now we have a variable that has the value of 5.28 that we can throw into any Java program. So let's go ahead and do that. And how we do that is just like we did before, just print it out on the screen. So let's go ahead and write system, let me type it right, system.out.print. And in your parameters, instead of typing a string of text like this is a string, all we have to do is type the word or the name of the variable, such as tuna, and that would print tuna out on the screen. Don't believe me? Let me show you guys. Let's go ahead and run this, and as you can see down in our little run box, it has the variable 5.28. So that is how you write variables out on the screen using Java. And another cool thing that you can do with these variables is, in the last tutorial I showed you guys how to write strings of text on the screen. You can also combine these variables with strings of text. So let's say we want to write system.out.println, and get out of here, Hoss. And in our print line we're going to say I want, then go ahead and press space. Actually, this brings me to another point, which I will say right now. There's two different things, system out and print, and system out and print line. So let me show you guys what those do right now. System.out.println, and let's go ahead. So what's this saying right now? I want 5.28 what do you want? 5.28 movies. I want 5.28 movies. Makes no sense, but just deal with it. Now let me show you guys what this does, and I'll show you guys why it does it. Let's go ahead and run this, and it says okay, we printed 3 things, but it only is on one line. I want 5.28 movies. And let me show you guys why this is. There's 2 different print statements that you guys learned so far. A system out print, which you see in the first 2 lines, and a system out print line, which you see in the next line. What a print statement does, a basic print with no line, is it says, alright Java, we want to print this, but we want to stay on the same line. and it says, alright, so just stay on the same line, and then after this move to the next line. So after you have print line, what it would do is move the cursor to the next line. So if you printed anything after this, it would show up on the next line. Don't believe me? Let me show you guys. System out print, and we can even have a basic print statement right here, and let's have apples. Let me go ahead and run this, and as you can see, this one moved to the new line. So that's the difference between the print statement and the print line statement. Anytime you use a print statement, it stays on the same line that you're printing on, such as here. So this whole thing's on the entire line. As soon as you have a print line statement, what it does is when it gets to the end of printing it, it moves to a new line. So that's the difference between a print statement and a print line statement. And again, that's your quick tutorial on how to use variables. Again, this is called declaring a variable. This is called assigning a variable a value. Again, this is the name of the variable, and this is the value. This is the assignment operator right here. And anytime you want to use a variable to print out on your screen, just write system out print and then write the name of the variable right there, and it'll print out on your screen. So again, that's your quick tutorial on variables and how to use variables in Java. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to check out my next tutorial, and again, thank you, and I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Welcome to your 6th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you a real quick way to get input from a user. So one way that we can get input from a user is to use something that's already built into Java, and this is called a scanner. And what the scanner does is take information that the user types in from their keyboard and stores it in a variable. So let's go ahead and get the scanner first. And how we get it, or tell Java where we need to use it, is we need to import it. So go ahead and write import on your first line, Java, java.util.scanner. And this is how you're going to be importing stuff from now on. So just get used to that syntax. If you don't know exactly what this means, it's pretty much just getting the scanner and telling Java we're going to need it. So of course, in our class we need that public method again. So in our class body, go ahead and type public static void main, and in your arguments type string args with your square brackets. Looks good? Good enough. Now in your body of your main, we need to actually get programming. So we need to make a variable that's going to hold the input from the keyboard before we use it. So to do this, we need to go ahead and write something called scanner, S-C-A-N-N-E-R. This means that we're going to use the scanner. Next, you need to give your variable a name, and I'm going to name mine Bucky. And then you need to set it equal to whatever they enter from the keyboard. So to do this, you need to follow along. New scanner, and in your parentheses right here, let me add my semicolon first, you need to type system.in. So here's what's going in right here, or excuse me, going on. We told Java we need to use the scanner, which is a way to get information from the keyboard. We have a variable, it's a scanning variable called Bucky, and the Bucky variable is equal to whatever information that's in the keyboard. And system.in stands for system input, and the only input we have in the computer right here is the keyboard. So this pretty much is short for whatever we type in for the keyboard, hold it in our Bucky variable, and we're going to tell you what to do with it right now. So now we have input, whatever that's going to be from the keyboard, and it's going to be stored in our Bucky variable. What we want to do now is just print it out on the screen. So you remember from the last tutorial how to do that, system.out.println, and in your parentheses you need to type, pay attention, the first thing you need to type is the name of your variable, and that's going to be whatever you made up here. Again, this Bucky, you don't have to write Bucky, of course, you can write anything you want. Now press Bucky period next line. And what this is going to do is allow you to pause and wait until you get input from here. So again, let me run this program and I'll show you guys what it does. Go ahead and press OK. And now down here it's gonna say hey now. Press enter and it's gonna output hey now. So remember, it had a blank cursor, said hey now. Once you press enter, it just repeated it again. And I'll show you guys what happened right there. Again, one last time, we imported the scanner. If we didn't import it, we can never use it. Since Java doesn't really like to just gather everything, it only uses the things it needs. It's very I don't know, noble, I guess. It only takes what it needs. A very courageous program language. But anyways, what we did in our main function, these are the only two lines you really need to look for. We made a variable called Bucky, and it's a scanner variable. We said we're making a new scanner variable that's going to be equal to whatever the user inputted. In this example, hey now. Now hey now equals Bucky, or Bucky equals hey now. So what do you want? So anytime you print out Bucky, it's going to print out hey now. So instead of system out print line with text in here, we actually changed that text for Bucky.nextLine. And again, what that did is pretty much take that hey now variable and put it in here, and that's why it printed out hey now. So that's your quick tutorial on how to use the scanner to set it equal to variable, and then to use that variable to output on your screen using the print line method. So that's your basics on how to gather input from the keyboard, and we're going to need this input to use in functions later on. Say we want to make a mortgage calculator, or just a shopping cart. That's how we do that. So again, practice this. Just copy the source code as I do. Remember, you don't need to name your function Bucky. So go ahead and practice this, and thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you check out my next tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and thank you, and I'll see you next time. What's up guys, welcome to your 7th Java tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a basic calculator using variables and other things that we already learned so far. So in your last tutorial I showed you guys how to get input from a user using something called a scanner, and we're going to need that again, and I already imported it. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is go ahead and make a scanner variable. So let's go ahead and write scanner, and I'm going to name mine Bucky again, and again I'm going to set it equal to new scanner, and also I want to put system in so it knows where to get input from. So write system.in, and that's all you need to do for now. The next thing we're going to need is 3 variables. We need one variable to hold the first number, one variable to hold the second number, and our last variable is going to hold the answer. So they're going to be doubles, by the way. So you can go ahead and declare them by writing double fnum for first num. Go to your next line and write double snum for second num. Or here's a neat little trick. If you have many variables of the same type, and by type I mean double or int or something like that, since you have many double variables, you can write them all on the same line. It's a nice little shortcut. So write snum and answer. You can name your variables anything you want. I just usually have short variables since I don't feel like typing a whole lot. So the first thing we want to do on our calculator is just print a line of text that says enter first number so the user knows what to do. So go ahead, and you know how to write this: system.out.println. Println, and in your parameters just go ahead and write enter first num, and then put a little semicolon right there if you want. And now we can go, once we have that, all this is going to do is put a line of text enter first num on the screen. Now what we want to do is have a way to enter a number and have it stored in fnum. So go ahead and put fnum equals Bucky, and remember this is our scanner variable, and write next double. And that brings me to another point. Now in our last tutorial I showed you guys something called next line, and it was right here, and that was for strings. Each data type in Java, you need to give it its own method, since you need to tell what you're going to be inputting in there so it knows how to save it. For example, if this was strings you're going to input in there, like hello, you're going to put next line. But since we're inputting a number, you're going to want next double, because double is a type of number. So now once we enter this number, and it can have decimal points, it's going to be stored in the variable fnum, and we're going to need that later. So now we have to do this exact same thing for the second number. So let's go ahead and copy this line since I'm too lazy to type it. Where's the copy? There you are at Haas. And next we want to print enter second number. And now we just need to do the same thing. Go ahead and copy this. And after that prompt pops up, you're gonna, there we go, you're gonna want to store this variable in snum. So the first number you're gonna type is going to be stored in the variable fnum, and the second number you type is going to be stored in the variable snum. This stands for first number and second number. Now what we want to do to get that answer that we have those variables is just add them together. So go ahead and write answer equals, and you're going to want to write fnum plus snum, and now we have whatever number that fnum and snum is going to be stored in answer. Now it's stored in there, but we need a way to output it to the screen to see what it was. So let's go ahead and write system.out.println, and in your parameters just write answer. And what this is going to do is output answer, whatever it was, to the screen. So go ahead and run this program, and hopefully I didn't get any errors. And here's our program right here. Enter first number. Let's do 34.6. Move my cursor out of the way. Press enter. Enter second number. 54.2. Press enter. It's going to give us our answer, 88.80001. And this is actually something that I want to talk to you guys about, and I will be talking to you guys about it in the next tutorial. Well, probably not in the next one, but this brings me to a good point, which we don't have time to talk about in this tutorial, but I will get to shortly. So basically what I did, enter first number, entered it, enter second number, enter it, and then it gave us an answer, pretty much. And again, to walk you through this one last time, what I did is import the scanner so I could use the Java scanner. And then I wrote everything in my main function, because that's where the computer looks first. The first thing I did was write a variable for the scanner just so we could use it. Next I made 3 variables that were double, which means numbers. First number, second number, answer. The first thing I did was have a little prompt that said enter first number, just so I knew what was going on for the user. Next I used that little scanner variable in the next double method to have whatever I typed in the keyboard to be stored in the first number. Then I just had something that says enter second number, and then I had it have the user input something else, and whatever they inputted that time is stored in snum. And then I just outputted whatever those two were added together, the sum of that, and I just printed it out on the screen. So that's a very basic calculator, and it had one flaw in it, and that was giving us many decimal points, and I'll show you why that is in the I don't know what tutorial, but it's going to be coming up pretty soon whenever I deal with numbers. But again, that's a basic calculator. That's how you build it, using a new method called next double that we learned, and also how to combine everything we learned so far and build a functioning program. So again, practice this, get good with it, make sure you understand everything we did up to this point, and once you do, you're ready to move on to my next tutorial. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I see you next time, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So thank you, and I'll see you then. What's up everyone, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 8th Java tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be talking about a new type of data, and that's called an int. And what an int is pretty much not like double before, where you had numbers like 3.54, or you could use fractions or decimal points. With int, it stands for integer, and integers are whole numbers like 6 or 75 or 76, and you can only use whole numbers without a fraction and no decimal point. So another thing I want to point out is whenever you use int, like to divide and multiply and add and subtract, whenever you use two ints to do these operations, your answer is also an int. So even if your number comes uneven, like 11 divided by 4, that doesn't divide evenly. But when you try to do it on your computer with an int, you get an int as a result. So let me show you guys what that is. Let's go ahead and make three variables: girls, boys, and people. And let's go ahead and set these to some values. Let's go ahead and I'll start out with showing you all of the math operators. Girls equals 6, boys equals 3, and people equals girls plus boys. Now I showed you guys how to use this math operator in the last one, the plus sign, to get a simple sum. So now we can go ahead, and the sum of girls plus boys is now stored in people. So we put system.out.println, and in our parameter go ahead and put, what is it, people. And now if we go ahead and run this, we get 9, since 6 plus 3 is 9. And so that is how you can use addition with Java. But addition isn't the only thing you can use. You can use minus or subtraction to get the difference, which 6 minus 3 is 3. You can also do some other cool ones. In the symbol for multiply is actually the asterisk, which is that little symbol above the 8. So whenever you want to multiply, make sure to use that. As you can see, 6 times 3 is 18. Divide is a special one. Now whenever you do this, you're going to get 2. But let me show you guys something where if you divide it uneven. Say you want to divide 11 by 3. Let's go ahead and see what our result is. 3. Well, we all know that 11 divided by 3 doesn't equal 3. What it equals is 3 point something. 9 divided by 3 actually equals 3. So what exactly is going on here? Well, Java said, alright, you want to work with ints? Well, ints are whole numbers, so whenever you ask the question in ints, I'm going to give you an int. So if you want to get this number exact, you need to use double. So go ahead and press OK, and there's your answer, 3.66. So that's the difference between int and double. Int gives you whole numbers, and double gives you like a fraction of a number, or numbers with the decimal points. So anyways, there's one more thing that I can help you out with when using ints to divide, and that's something called the modulus. Now we all know that 3 goes into 11 3 times, and that will give you 9. But you have 2 things left over whenever you do that, and that's where the modulus comes in. The modulus pretty means, alright, when you divide by a number, you get a whole number, aka an int, but you also have some left over. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. It says 2. In the modulus, if you remember from math class, this is another way of finding the remainder. So again, when you divide by 11 by 3, you get 9. You get 3, which 3 times 3 is 9, but you have 2 left over. So that's where that 2 comes from. Whatever's left over is the modulus. So that's how you can use the modulus along with int to find the exact value. So again, let me give you guys one more example. This one might be easier. If you have 7 divided by 3, you're going to get the answer 2, but you're going to have 1 left over. So if you divide it by 2, such as this, you're going to get the answer 2. But if you have the modulus, you're going to get the answer 1, since you have 1 left over. Right there. And that, believe it or not, is going to be useful in a bunch of things that you won't even expect, like when you're finding random numbers and stuff that I'm going to be teaching you later. But for now, I just wanted to show you guys what the int variable type was, and also how to use different math operators. So thank you guys for watching. Practice this a little. I don't know what this program is. Girls and boys and people counters, I guess. And once you get good at all the math operators, you're ready to move on to my next tutorial. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Welcome to your 9th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be talking to you guys about something called assignment and increment operators. Now these are neat little tricks to have when you're working with Java. They're going to save you a bunch of time and help you out with numbers a little bit. So let's go ahead and make two variables. Make one called tuna and set that equal to 5, might as well, and make another one called bass in case we need it. I don't know if we are, but set it equal to 18. Now what the increment variable does is allows you to add 1 very quickly to the variable, and you can do this by pressing ++ and then the name of the variable. So right now by pressing ++ tuna, we changed tuna, which was 5, to 6. Now let me show you guys just so we can have something, you don't have to take my word for it. Print line and go ahead and put tuna in there and go ahead and run this baby. And as you can see, what was 5 now equals 6. So that's how you can use ++ to quickly change a variable's value by adding 1. Now another thing that you can do is instead of putting it in separate, you can throw this right into the system print line method, and as you can see, you still get 6. Now this is called pre-incrementing, and what this does is it changes the value of the variable before it uses it. But I want to show you guys something else. Whenever you use post-incrementing, what this is going to do is it's going to use this variable as 5 and then it's going to change it to 6. So let me go ahead and press OK, and as you can see, once we do this, it gets 5 and not 6. So what this did is it changed the variable, but it didn't do it until after it already used it. So if we were to print it out again, it would get 6. So let's go ahead and do that. Save me some time by copying this baby. Where you at? Paste. There you are. So now that, here's what's going to happen. This is going to change the variable to 6, but it's not going to do it until after it already outputs it as 5. And now once it's 6, it's going to show 6 right here. So let me show that. And as you can see, 5, and then it changed it to 6, and then we just outputted the regular variable. And this doesn't only work with addition, you can also use this with subtraction by pressing -. You can change it by subtracting 1 and getting 4, and let's see what else there is. What else is there? You can also do something else, and this is called an assignment operator. So now we can know how to use the increment operator using 2 plus signs and also using 2 minus signs to subtract 1. You can also use the assignment operator, let me get some space right here, to do it if you want to do more than 1. And instead of changing the value of tuna, and say you wanted to add 5 to tuna, you would put tuna equals tuna plus 5. And what this would do is take that number 5, add 5 to it, and give you the value of 10, which I will show you right here. 10. Now this is a pretty simple way. It takes the new variable and sets it equal to the value of the old variable plus the new number. But there's an easier way you can do this. What you can do, instead of tuna equals tuna plus 5, you can do tuna plus equals, let's get a new number, 8. And what this does is take the new variable you want to use, tuna, and just add 8 to it. So it's a lot easier way than typing all that. So now we should get the number 13, and we do, just like that. So that's called, I think it's called assignment operator, but I'm not exactly sure. It's how you can use plus equals to add this number to the old variable to get brand new variable. And also, just like anything else, you can use this with subtraction to subtract 8 from it, even with multiplication to multiply 8. And if you do this, you should get the number 40, and you do. So that's how you can use basic increment operators to increment 1 very quickly using plus and minus for subtraction, and also assignment operators so you can assign a value to a new variable very quickly without having to press tuna equals tuna times 8 or something like that. So those are just some nice little shortcuts that you can use. So get familiar with them, because if you do, it's going to save you a bunch of time, and if you don't, then you're going to waste a bunch of time. So thank you guys for watching my Java tutorial. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, And again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Welcome to your 10th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be getting to the actual good stuff in Java. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys what if statement is and how to use it to make a decision. There's going to be a lot going on in this tutorial, so pay attention. It's going to be sweet. What an if statement is pretty much how your computer makes decisions. You're going to give it a test, such as, am I a boy or am I a girl? And your computer looks at this, and if it says you're a boy, it does one block of code, but if it says you're a girl, it does another block of code. For example, you could build a program to, if you're a boy, take you to a boy website, but if you're a girl, take you to a girl website or something like that. So what we need to do here is build an if statement, and to do that, go ahead and write if. Now after that, you have something in parentheses. Now what is in your parentheses is called the condition, but what the condition actually means, condition is just like the technical term. What it is actually a test. Whatever you want to test, you're going to have two choices for now. Say we have a variable called, let's just name it test, and let's make it int test is equal to 6. So now we have a variable that we can test. So let's go ahead and test this, and let's go ahead and say if test is equal to 9, and this brings me to another point. Your testing operators. There, let's see, probably 6 different ways off the top of my head that you can test. The first thing you can do is to see if something is exactly equal to something else. So this means if 6 is exactly equal to 9. Remember, you don't use one equal sign, because when you use one equal sign, that means you're assigning it to a value. When you're testing it, you use 2, because you don't want test to equal 9, you just want to test if it is equal to 9. So that test, if the variable called test is equal to the value 9. If you want to test if it's not equal, you need exclamation point equal sign, and this means not equal. And of course, as expected, you got your less than signs. Is 6 less than 9? Is 6 greater than 9? Is 6 less than or equal to 9? Or is 6 greater or equal to 9? And those are all self-explanatory. I'm not going to show you guys exactly what those mean. But for now, I'm going to use the most basic one. And what we're going to be testing right now is if the variable called test is exactly equal to 9, which it isn't. Now, I told you guys that you have a test, and this test can either go it is or it isn't, and that's where your computer makes a decision. If it is, then after your if statement, you have something called a statement, your first statement, and this is also called the body. Now your first one is you need to tell your computer what it's going to do if the test is true. If test is equal to 9, then we want you to system.out.println that's right, yes. Just write something simple. Now the first thing you do is tell your computer what to do if test is equal to 9. And this is what it does if it is equal to 9. But as you can see, test isn't equal to 9, so what do we want to do now? Well, if that isn't true, then we give you one more option, and that's the else. And let's just go ahead and copy this. Copy and paste. Where are you? And let's go ahead and write this is else. So let me run this for you guys, and I'll show you guys what happens. Press OK, and our final result is this is else. So let me show you guys, clear things up, how an if statement works. How an if statement works is you write if, and then you have a variable. So it pretty much is the exact same thing as saying, alright, if test is equal to 9, I want you to print yes. But if it's not equal to 9, I want you to print this is else. So we're going to have the test one thing. If the test is positive, have this. Else, if the test is negative, have this. But say we had something else like if test was less than 9, which is true. Well, since this test is true, it's going to do the first option and not the second option. Again, it can't do both of them. It can only do one or the other. So let's go ahead and run this, and it's going to say this time yes. So that is how you can use different testing operators such as equals equals, less than, greater than, less than, equal to, and that's how you use a simple if statement to give your computer two choices. Again, it's just like saying, if this test is true, do this first thing, else do the second thing. And don't forget to use your curly braces to do the body of the first thing, and then your else statement, and then your curly braces to do the body of your second choice. And I'll be clearing this up for you in the next couple tutorials, but I hope this is pretty self-explanatory. Just play around with it for now. It's the best thing to do to learn. So just copy this, throw in some new variables, and soon enough you'll get the hang of it. So thank you guys for watching. That's the basic if statement, how to tell your computer to make a simple decision. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to check out my next Java tutorial. So I will see you then. What's up guys, welcome to your 11th Java tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use multiple tests in the Java program. Now in the last tutorial I showed you guys how to test one thing, such as if let's say apples was less than 3, then do something. Well, there's actually a way to, in your if condition, test many tests in the same condition. So let me go ahead and demonstrate this point. Let's go ahead and make a simple dating website. So we need two variables, int boy and int girl. And let's go ahead, boy set him to 18, nice young buck as myself, and girl set her equal to 68, should be an old cougar. So let's go ahead and make a simple if statement. And in the test condition, as I told you guys before, we learned how to test one thing. So if boy is greater than 10, we would execute a certain block of code. So let's go ahead and do that. System out print line, and if he's older than 10, we'll write you can enter, since we can grant him permission. Else, if he's less than 10, then what do we want to do? Let's just copy this, save us some time. Copy and paste. There we go. You are too young. So let's go ahead and run this real quick and make sure everything's working. And since boy is greater than 10, it says you can enter. So that's what I taught you guys last time, how to do one test in an if statement. But there's a way where you can do multiple tests in the same condition. Now say you wanted to make sure that the boy is greater than 10 and the girl is less than 60, since we don't want any senior citizens on our site. No offense, but this is a site for younger people only. So what we would do is use something called the double ampersand, and this stands for and. And whenever you use this, that means that either test on either side of this has to be true for this to be true. So for example, if boy is greater than 10 and girl is less than 60, which is false, you want to print you can enter, else print you are young. And again, here's what and means. Whenever you have this little double ampersand, and that's a little symbol above the 7 on your keyboard, this test has to be true, and this test has to be true for this piece of code to execute. If either one of these are false, or if they're both false, then this code is never going to execute. So let's go ahead and change this to you cannot enter. So if the boy is greater than 10, which is true, and the girl is less than 60, which is false, 68, print this, you can enter. So it's not going to print that, it's going to print this, you cannot enter. So let's go ahead and run this, and as you can see, you cannot enter. So let's go ahead, and what if we change this to the girl was within the age limits, 40, and we ran that baby again. It would now say you can enter. So that is how you use something called multiple tests in the and sign to make sure that two tests are true so you can execute a certain block of code. But there's also another neat thing besides the and that's called the or. And to do that, you use two little pipe signs, and that's the key above your enter when you press shift. It's I think it's called a pipe, it's like a pipe or pipeline or something. But here's what this means. Two little pipes, this means OR. And what OR means is either this has to be true or this has to be true. Only one of these have to be true to execute this first statement. If they're both false, then it's gonna just skip that and go to this. So let's go ahead and in another point, in an OR statement, this one has to be true or this one has to be true, or they both can be true, such as right now. So let's go ahead and change this to girl equals 99. So only this one is true, but this one is false. Using the OR thing, you can enter should show up. So let's go ahead and we ran it and it said you can enter. And let me show you guys what happens if both of them are true. It should do the same thing. Girl equals 44. Run it. Again, it says you can enter. But again, the only way that this is not going to work is if both of them are false. So let's say if the boy was 8 and the girl was 99, it would say you cannot enter. So again, to recap one last time, if you want to do multiple tests in Java, there's two things you can use: an AND sign, and what this does is make sure both the tests on either side are true, and if it's not true, it does the else. And you can also use the OR sign. And unlike the AND where both of them has to be true, the OR sign makes sure only one of them has to be true. But if both of them are true, then oh well, it still works. So that is how you can use multiple tests in your Java program using the double ampersand and double pipes to test either AND and OR. So if you have any questions or if this is confusing at all, then you can just send me a message and hopefully I can clear things up for you, but I try to make it real self-explanatory for you. So that's all for this tutorial. I hope you learned how to do multiple tests and make a simple dating program. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to 12th Java tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys about something called a switch statement. Now what a switch statement does is test one variable, and depending on the value of that variable, pretty much, it gives you multiple choices. So before we learn the switch statement, let me show you what we had to do with our knowledge so far. Let's make like a program that tells you what kids do at a certain age. So say we have a program that has a variable called age, and the kid's age is 3 right now. What we would have to do right now is make an if statement for each age and put if age is equal to 1, and then we would have to put something like system, then we would put out and stuff like that, and it would just get a pain in the butt. And then we would have, after 1, we would put if age is equal to 2 and then do your stuff down here. And as you can see, we don't want to type all that stuff for each number, so I wish there was an easier way just to test age for a bunch of different things. Well, actually, you don't have to write 10 different if statements if you want to test age 10 times. You can only write something called a switch statement once, and it will give you many different options. So instead of writing 10 different if statements to see what a kid does from ages 1 to 10, let me show you guys what to do. What you do is write the word switch, and what switch does is find the variable value in the parameters. So what variable do we want to test? We want to test age. So after this, you just go ahead and write curly braces and give yourself a nice little switch body. Now instead of writing a bunch of if statements, all you would have to do is write, they're called cases. Now what case means is if the value of age is equal to 1, what do we want to do? And after case 1, go ahead and put a regular colon. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a regular colon after the 1 and not a semicolon. So in the case of 1, let's go ahead and system out print line. So what can they do at 1? You can crawl. And then after this, you want to add something called break. Now what break does is it means, alright, if this is true and age equals 1, then we have no reason to go to the rest of the program, so you can just exit. And I'll be talking about that more later, but for now, just make sure you have it. So you can just repeat this for as many options as you want. So in the case of 2, what do we want to happen? Let's just copy this. Copy, save yourself some time. You can talk. So in the case of 2, if age equals 2, what do we want to do? We want to print you can talk and then break. And let's go ahead and make one more. In the case of 3, again, using lazy, don't feel like typing at all. In the case of 3, you can get in trouble. And I know I spelled trouble wrong, but just deal with it. So here's what you do. You put switch and then put the variable you want to test the value of. Then you put the values that are possible after the word case. Now after, in the case body, what you do is write, alright, if age is equal to 1, here's what I want you to do. If age is equal to 2, here's what I want you to do. If age is equal to 3, here's what I want you to do. And the last thing you have in every switch statement is something called a default. And to do that, you just write default. And what this does is, if none of those values are true, it does a default statement. So let me scroll up a little bit so you can see. And again, you don't need a value for this, like default 4, because it already knows, alright, if everything else is false, this is what you're going to do. So that's why you don't need a value. So let's go ahead and write, actually let me go ahead and copy this since I'm lazy. Copy. If default, let's go ahead and write, I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old you are. And of course, we have a break at the end of this as well. If I can get it right. Break. So let's go ahead and run this with age equal to 3. And let me show you guys what it does. It outputs you can get in tolerable. And it's supposed to be trouble, but I typed it wrong. So, and let me recap. Well, let me show you guys what default does. So if age isn't equal to 1, 2, or 3, say age is equal to 7, and I run this, it says, I don't know how old you are. So let me recap one last time what this switch statement does. A switch statement takes the variable, whatever's in its condition, and tests it. So then it looks through the cases to see what value that variable is equal to. If it's equal to the value 1, it prints this. If not, it doesn't do it at all. Then it looks if it's equal to the value 2. If it is, it prints this. If not, then it skips this as well. Then it looks if it's equal to the variable 3. If it is, it prints this. If not, again, it skips all of these. And then if it doesn't hit any one of these, then it goes to default. And what default means is I ran through all these options and none of them worked. So by default, I got to do something. This can't be just a waste of a program. So by default, I want to output I don't know how old you are. So that is how you can use the switch statement to test a single variable for many different values. And this will save you a bunch of time and keep you from writing a bunch of different if statements. And trust me, it's a whole lot easier than writing a bunch of if statements. So that's your basic on the switch statement. It will save you a bunch of time. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned a little something. Copy this, play around with it, and pretty soon you'll be an expert at the switch statement. So again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next tutorial. What's up guys, welcome to your 13th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to do something called a while loop. Now what a while loop does is it allows you to execute a certain block of code multiple times but only write it one time. So it pretty much just saves you a bunch of time writing a code. And let me show you what the syntax is for this. The first thing that we need is a variable, and I'm going to name mine counter, and I'm going to set it equal to, let's go ahead and set it equal to 0 to begin with. Now the syntax for a while loop is just the word while, and this means begin your while loop. And what your while loop is going to do is whatever is in the body of your while loop, or curly braces, it's going to execute this code. And let's go ahead and say system out print line, and let's go ahead and just print the variable counter. Nothing special here. So what this is going to do is it's going to execute this line of code multiple times. So you're saying, alright, how many times is it going to execute? Well, that is up to whatever you put in the condition. So let's write while counter is less than 10, we want you to output counter. So right now, here's what would happen. It says, alright, what's counter? 0, print counter. What's counter? 0, print counter. So this loop would kind of go forever. So we need a way to end the loop somehow. So we need a way to change counter. So let's go ahead and use the incrementing operator that we learned last time and just put counter plus plus. And let me run this real quick and show you guys what it does. Run, okay, and in our little run box we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just what we wanted. Now let me show you guys one more time what this does. We had a counter variable to begin and it started at 0. The first time we told while is, alright, while this counter is less than 10, we want you just to write whatever number it is on the screen. So the first time it looped, it was 0, so it outputted 0, and then it added 1 to it, so then it was 1. So now it looked at it again. Is counter less than 10? Yup. Let me put that on screen. Now it's 2. Is counter less than 10? Yup. And it did that again and again until it got to 10. And when it got to 10, is 10 less than 10? Nope. So I'm just going to not do anything. So that's how you use loops to execute a block of code many times without having to write it over and over again. If we didn't have this, we would have to write print our print statement 10 times, and as you can see, this saves you a bunch of time. So again, the syntax for a while loop is while, and then put your test condition in what are these called, parentheses, and then put whatever you want to execute in curly braces right here, and whatever you execute is going to do that however many times you say. So that's your quick tutorial on loops. This is a while loop. There are different kinds of loops where I'm going to be probably going over in the next tutorial, but this is your basic while loop. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you test this out a little bit and play around with it, and you'll be an expert in no time. So again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 14th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to teach you guys how to use multiple classes. Now so far I've taught you guys how to build everything in one simple class such as this, but usually in like 99% of the time, if you're working for like a company or building a bigger application or program, anytime you want to build something that's bigger than something really simple, you need to know how to use more classes or multiple classes. And then you can use those all in your main class, or let me just show you guys how this works. So to get another class, hopefully you're using Eclipse, go ahead over to your source file, right click it, and go to New Class. Now go ahead and give this a name like Tuna or something like that, and you'll see why this is useful later on. So now we have, as you can see from our tabs, let me move this over, we have an apples class and a tuna class. Now it started out writing our tuna class for us. It says public class tuna. Now anytime you see public, it pretty much means that this class is going to be available to the public, or anything else can use it. So let's go ahead, and now that we have a class, before I show you guys how to use it, let me go ahead and write a little method in here. Now let's go ahead and write a simple method in this other new tuna class that we just built. Type public void, and again, public means anyone can use it. Void means that it's going to do something. This method's going to do something, but it's not going to return any data. So then go ahead and name your method. I'm going to name mine simple message, since I'm just going to be printing out a simple message. And that message is going to be system out print line, and let's go ahead and add something like this is another class. So now we have another class, and this is called public class tuna, and our method is public void, and don't forget to put a simple message in here somewhere. You can put anything you want. And now if we go ahead and try to run this, try to run it, okay, nothing happens right here. And this is because I told you guys, anytime you run a Java program, it looks for the first thing that says main and runs it from there. As you can see, you don't have main anywhere in here, so it doesn't really know where to look first. So in order to use this class, we need to go ahead and use it in main. So here is our main function or method right here, and it's in the main class one. Remember, this is the main one that we used before. The other one is the new one that we built. So let me give you guys a little background. Whenever you use a method in another class, say we want to use this method, simple message, and it's in the Tuna class, what we need to do is go ahead and create an object of that class. So the first thing we do is put the class name, which is Tuna. Next, we need an object name, and you can name this anything you want. I'm going to name my Tuna object. And what this object is going to allow you to do is use all the stuff that's in this class. Again, if you didn't create an object and you had like 5 classes, it wouldn't know what class you were talking about. So that's why we need an object. So we're saying, alright, we have this object because we want to use something from the Tuna class. And of course, you need to set it equal to something. And you always set it equal to new in the class name with empty parameters for now. So now we have an object called Tuna object that we can use to get anything we want from this Tuna class that we just built. So let's go ahead and use it. What you do to use this is go ahead and put the object name, which is Tuna object, spell it right, Tuna object, and then after the object name, what you do is add a dot separator. And after that dot separator, you use the method name. So what was our method name? Simple message. So simple message. Empty parameters. And let me tell you guys why you use a dot separator in the method name. Because this class, even though we built one method right here, it can have as many methods as it wants. Since it can have a method named simple message 2, dimple message, bacon and cheese. But it says, alright, we have this object we want to use in Tuna class, and we want to use this method. So if there are other methods, we want to use this one. So that is how you use a specific method in a specific class, by creating a class, an object of that class. So let's go ahead, and unlike before, when we run this program, we get the message that we just built. This is another class. And so this is how you can use different classes in your main program or your main method. So this is a way that if you own like a software company, you can say, alright, Tommy, we need you to build one class to do this. John, we need you to build another class to do this. Stephanie, we need you to build another class to do this. And then you, as the head programmer, would put all those classes together, and it's just a way that different programmers can combine all of their work without having to work on the same file. So this makes it a lot easier. Again, that's how you use a different class, such as this, an outside class, and call it into your main method or function. So that's your quick tutorial on using multiple classes. Follow this tutorial exactly and play around with it, and soon enough you'll be an expert at it. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and make sure to check out my next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 15th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use methods with parameters. Now in this tutorial we're also going to be building a custom function where we're going to let the user enter their name in an outside class, and it's going to call it in the main class and just say like hello to whatever your name is or something. So if that sounds complicated, then follow along, and I promise I'll make it easier. It's probably easier just to see than me to even say, so follow along. So again, we have our main apples class with our main function or method in here, and we have our outside Tuna class with the method that we call. So let's go ahead and clear everything out of your public class Tuna, if you have anything in there, because we're going to be adding a new method. So go ahead and type as I do, public void, and we want our simple message again. And instead of just adding empty parameters, this time we needed to take an argument in our parameters, and let's go ahead and make a string variable and call it name. So again, anytime you have something in your parameters is called an argument. An argument or extra parameter data is pretty much any extra information that the method needs in order to work. So let me show you guys what this method actually does, and you'll see why it needs extra data. What it does is just system out print line. It just prints on the screen hello, and then it prints the name. So if you don't have a name, it would print hello and nothing. So again, an argument is any extra information that the program needs to run. So again, what this is going to do is print hello and then your name. So before we use it, we need to do a couple stuff to our main function. Of course, to enter our name, we need to import the scanner, or else we have no way of importing data to Java. So go ahead and import java.util.scanner, and this is going to allow us to use a scanner so we can give information to our program. Next, we need to make a scanner object, so let's go ahead, scanner, name it input, new scanner, and I believe that I taught you guys how to do this in the last tutorial, so you should know what I'm doing. System in, and that's that for that line. That makes that we can use the scanner. Next, go ahead and do what we did last time and create a tuna object, so we can use this object to get the information from the tuna class. We just need that empty parameters. Next, let's go ahead and print system out print line, spell it right, and we just want to write a prompt to the user so it knows what to do. Enter your name here. So this is pretty much the only thing that's going to go on right now. We now have text on the screen that says enter your name here. Now we need the next thing they enter to be stored in the variable name. So let's go ahead and make string name, so the variable name is equal to input next line. And I told you guys how to input integers using the scanners. Anytime you want to input a string, you use this next line method. So again, anything that the user enters is going to be stored in the variable name. So now what it's going to do is look at name and say hello name. So if you entered Bucky, it's going to say alright, Bucky equals name, so hello Bucky. So now before we do that, we need to actually use that object to call the method. So tuna object, and go ahead and put your dot separator, simple message with your name parameters. And again, unlike last time where you don't use anything at all, you have to put the argument that it takes in here. And this says again that this isn't just a method that you don't need any extra information for. We're going to give you this extra information for something because we want you to do something with it. So go ahead and let's run this program, and then I'll show you guys what it does later. Enter your name here, Bucky Roberts, and then it says hello Bucky Roberts. And let me talk you guys through this one last time. We imported the scanner because that's how how Java allows us to input stuff in the computer, like I typed in Bucky Roberts. Without this, I wouldn't be able to type in anything. Next, in our main function, we said alright, we want to put this just allows you to use the scanner after you imported it. We next made an object because without an object we can't use anything in this class, as I taught you in the last tutorial. Next, we just put a prompt on the screen. We learned this like in the first tutorial. Just showed what we needed to do. Next, we put, alright, we have a variable called name. We want this to be equal to anything we type in, and that's so if you have different users that are using this program, it doesn't just type the same message. You can use it for a bunch of different users no matter what they type in for their name. Next, we said, alright, in the class tuna, use a method called simple message that takes an argument of name. So it's going to go look at all the classes, find the one called tuna, and find the method that's called simple message, and do whatever it says to do. And what this method says to do is say, alright, take a variable called name, which we already had, we just gave it to it, and then just print out hello, whatever the name is. So it says, alright, hello Bucky Roberts. So that is how you use a method with a parameter, and that's what parameters do. It's just an extra bit of information that you might need to run a program. So again, that's your quick tutorial on how to use methods with parameters in a different class. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for all my latest videos, and also check out my contests. So again, thank you, and I hope to see you in my next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 16th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use multiple methods and also something called instance variables when working with classes. So let's go ahead and open up our tuna class and clear anything out if you have anything in there. And let's go ahead, and the first thing I want to do is make a new variable called private string and just put girl name, because we're going to be making a program in this tutorial to output the name of our first girlfriend. So the first thing you probably notice is instead of public I put private, and this is because when you're working with classes, right now we have two types of variables, public and private. Public variables, any class can use that variable, but when you use a private variable, only the methods inside this class can use it. So the methods that we're about to build can manipulate and change and also access this variable. If we were in another class like this one over here, it couldn't use this variable in this class. So private means private inside this class. Only the methods can use it inside this class. So let's go ahead and make some methods. The first method I want to make is public void set name. And what this is going to do is set the name of whatever we put into it into the variable girl name. So of course we need a parameter string name. So now we have two variables, name and girl name. So let's go ahead and add some instruction for this method. We're going to put girl name is equal to name, and that's all. That's all we need for this method. And what this is going to do is this. Whenever we use this method in our main program, whatever we put in for the argument for this method, all it's going to do is make sure girl name is equal to name. So it's pretty much just putting girl name equal to whatever you typed in. Next, let's go ahead and make a method to access that. So let's go ahead and put public string, and this is the return type. Let me show you guys in a second. Again, we know public means access anywhere. The second thing after this is return type. And whatever your method does, it may or may not return something. This method is going to return a string, so that's why we need to put string. And if your method returns nothing, go ahead and put void. So now let's go ahead in our method body, let's go put return girl name. That's all. All it does is return girl name, which was made up here. Next, let's go ahead and make one last method, public void saying, and this is going to be our final output to the user. So all we need to put here is system out printf, and this is a new type of print if I didn't teach you before. What it does is take something like your make sure I'm spelling everything right. Your first girlfriend was %s, and whenever we use %s, it needs to know what string do I want to put in place of this. Well, we have a perfectly fine string right here in our get name, so let's go ahead and I won't copy that, I won't be too lazy. Get name. So it's gonna say your first girlfriend was, and whatever girl name is as defined up here, that's what it's gonna output. You'll see what it does later. But for now, let's go over to your apples one. Make sure you import your scanner and make a tuna object so we can access that class. And now let's go ahead and just put a basic prompt on the screen so we can tell the user what to do. System out print line, and what were we gonna print? Just print something like enter name of first girlfriend here. Just any prompt will do, just so we're not lost, so the user actually knows what to do. And after that, go ahead and we need to make a temporary variable. So we need to put string temp. You can name yours whatever you want. I just name mine temp for fun. Input, and this is where we use our scanner variable. Next line with empty parameters. And again, whatever the user types in as their answer, it's going to be stored in the variable temp. So that's what this line does. This is just a prompt. This takes whatever they enter and stores it in the variable temp right there. Next, we need to do something with this. So let's go ahead and use our tuna object, and we need that to access set name. And of course, the parameters for this is going to be that temporary variable temp. So what it's going to do is take the name that they entered and set it equal to girl name right here. It's going to take it, which is name, set it equal to girl name. Now we need to do one last thing. Now that we got that name equal to girl name, all we need to do is do tuna object dot saying with empty parameters. And what this does is use the tuna object saying. What is this, you may ask? The saying just outputs on the screen your first girlfriend was, and it's going to be whatever they typed in for the name. So let's go ahead and run this, see if I got any errors. And I don't, so let's go ahead and enter the name of your first girlfriend. Mine was Kelsey. Go ahead and press enter, and it says your first GF was Kelsey, stands for girlfriend. She was a babe. So let me tell you guys what this does one last time. Import scanner, we know what all this stuff does. Enter your name. What this does is allow us to enter a name, and it's going to store it in that variable called temp. And what the next line does right here is say, alright, in your class tuna, take that variable temp and use it in the set name method. So now it takes that variable named temp, which was Kelsey, and stores it as girl name. So now girl name equals Kelsey. So it says, alright, now what? Well, next I want you to just use the saying method in the class tuna. So it says, alright, we know that girl name is equal to Kelsey now, so now we can use that saying, what you told us to do right here, and just your first girlfriend was Kelsey. And again, if you don't know what printf does, then check out my C tutorials and I go over this. This is the common print function in the language C. Also, you can use it in Java, but this is just another way to print, so don't let it confuse you. So that is how you use instance variables and multiple methods. So again, you can use multiple methods in the same class. And don't forget, whenever you have a variable that's outside a method, again, it's outside all of these, but it's inside this entire class, it's called an instance variable. So that's where I get that name from. So I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. I hope you understand at least a little bit of it. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out my next tutorial. I promise I'll be clearing this up for you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 17th Java tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys about something called a constructor. Now what a constructor does is it allows you to initialize variables as soon as you create an object. So for example, whenever you created this variable right here, as soon as you created your object, let's go ahead and do that right now. Tuna, let's make one called tuna object like before, equals new tuna, and of course we had empty brackets. As soon as we did that and tried to use our object, such as tuna object saying, and what we would do if we ran this, it said your first girlfriend is null. And this would be because whenever we try to use girl name, it didn't have a value yet. Well, what a constructor allows you to do is give this variable a value as soon as you create your object. So let me show you guys how to make a constructor, and then I'll talk you guys through it one more time exactly what it does. Now, how you make a constructor is pretty much exactly how you make a method. The only difference is the method's name has to be the exact same thing as the class name. So let's go ahead and write public tuna, and as you can see, since we're working in a class called tuna, a constructor method has to also be called tuna. So let's go ahead, and what I want this to do is assign a value to this string variable, girl name. So let's go ahead and write string name, of course, and I'm going to have this do the exact same thing as this set name did. So girl name equals name. The only difference is, instead of having to call the set name method, we can just do it all as soon as we create our object. So let's go ahead, and now we have a constructor object that we're gonna, well, let me just show you guys what it does. So instead of before, whenever we use empty parameters right here, we can use those parameters to pass an argument such as Kelsey. Now let's go ahead and run this, and it says your first girlfriend was Kelsey. So that is really a simple way of how you can use a constructor. Let me talk you guys through this one more time, and then I'll show you guys another neat little trick. And if you want to initialize a variable as soon as you create your object, such as this, all you have to do is create a method and name it the exact same thing as your class, and all you have to do is put whatever you want to initialize in here, and then whenever you create your object, instead of leaving those parameters empty, just put your argument in there, and that'll go to your constructor and initialize all those variables for you. So if you're saying, alright, why is building a constructor even remotely useful? Why couldn't I just leave those empty like before and use this little method right here later on? Well, say you had more than one object. So say you had another object called tuna object 2. And another thing I want to point out, I don't know if I told you guys this before, but every time you have an object, it has its own set of variables. So for example, say you have something in this one called Nicole. That was the name of my second girlfriend, appropriately named tuna object 2. And say you have tuna object 2. This variable that is, what was it called? Girl name? This is an entirely different variable than this. These two objects, they can't see each other's variables. So that's the kind of beauty of creating object. It gets its own set of variables. So now this object can have output saying, and now you can also have a saying for tuna object 2, not 21, saying, and let's see what this one does right here. It says your first girlfriend was Kelsey, your first girlfriend was Nicole. So let me give you guys a rundown one last time. The first thing you did is create a constructor, and again you did that by naming a method the exact same thing as a class. What this constructor allowed you to do is allowed you, as soon as you created an object, and we created two of them right here, it took that value and passed it into girl name. And from there you can just use a girl name anytime you want to use that object. So it used girl name, which was Kelsey, in tuna object, and girl name, which was Nicole, in tuna object 2, and passed it into the method saying for both. So again, that's not as important as how to create an object, or excuse me, a constructor. And again, one last time, what a constructor does is it allows you to initialize variables as soon as an object is created. So that's your real quick tutorial on how to use a constructor and what it does, and we'll be coming across that later on, and it'll get easier and easier as I'll show you guys how to use it in a more useful application. But for now, I just wanted to show you guys the basics. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, make sure to check out all my contests, and I guess I'll see you next tutorial. What's up guys, welcome to your 18th Java tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be going over something called nested if statements and also else if statements. So I gave you guys a quick heads up on what an if and else statement was in a couple tutorials ago, but I'm going to give you a refresher real quick in case you forgot, and then I'm going to be getting into some more stuff that we're going to be needing later. So go ahead and make an integer. You can have it whatever you want. I'm going to name mine age, and set it equal to something like, actually set it equal to 60. Next, let me remind you guys what if statement does. What if statement does is it tests a condition, and if that condition is true, so age is less than 50, it does a certain thing. So let's say if age was less than 50, which is not, we want you to print out on the screen. Let's make sure I got this typed right before I go any farther. If age is less than 50, then you're pretty young, so you are young. So it allows you to make a decision if a condition is true. And we also went over the else, and what this does is it gives it alternative unless that condition is false. So let's copy that because we're lazy, and let's put you are old. And let's go ahead and see what this does right here. It outputs on the screen you are old. So what this did, real quick, I'm not going to get in detail because I told you later, it looked at this variable called age and tested if it was less than 50. If it was going to print this, you are young. But it wasn't, so it printed this. And again, this is how you can give Java a way of making many choices, or just one choice in this condition. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about in this tutorial is not the simple if-else statement. It's something called a nested if-else statement, or a nested if statement. And what it is this. Instead of just having one action if it's true, or one action if it's false, say if it was false, you wanted it to perform another decision. Well, actually what you can do is take this entire if-else statement and plug it in one of these things right here. So say the age is 60 right here. If the age is less than 50, then it's going to do this. Well, the age wasn't less than 50, so it's going to do whatever is in the else statement. So let's go ahead and make another decision in it. Alright, we already know that the age is greater than 50, so let's go ahead. Alright, if in that case age is greater than 75, what do we want to do? We'll just print out you are really old. So if age is greater than 75, we want to print out you are really old. Else in that case, age must be greater than 50 but less than 75. What are we going to print out? We'll print out something nice for him. Don't worry, you aren't really that old, with a bunch of typos, because that's what they wanted. So let's go ahead and run this, and when we do, it says you are old, don't worry, you aren't really that old. And let me show you guys what happened right here. This entire thing is your main if else. This is what's going to happen if it's less than 50, and this is what's going to happen if it's greater than 50. Now if it's greater than 50, which it is, the first thing it's going to do is print out the statement you are old. And then it's going to say, alright, what else do I do if it's greater than 50? Oh, I got a whole nother decision I got to make. So aside from this entire decision, I got to make another decision. Is my age greater than 75? No, it's 60. Well, then I'll go to this one. Don't worry, you aren't really that old. So again, that's how you can embed an entire if-else statement inside another if-else statement. And you could have just as easily put this in the first one, but I decided to put this in else because that's where our decision led. So that's your quick tutorial on how to make what this is called is actually nesting. When you have one if-else statement inside another one, it's called nesting if statements, or nesting if-else statements. So that's your quick tutorial on how to do that. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to use something called else if. So make sure to subscribe. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you then. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 19th tutorial in Java. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be going over something called an else if statement. Now what an else if statement is pretty much a way of giving Java many options. So in our last tutorial, I showed you guys how to build an if statement such as this one, where we had a condition which if age was greater than 60, then we want you to do something like system out print line. I'm going to copy that so I don't have to keep typing it. So if it's over 60, say you are a senior citizen. Let me type it right. There we go. So if statement allows you to give it one option. We also have something called else, which gives it another option. Say else if it's less than 60, you are a young buck. And when we run this, make sure we don't got any errors. It says you are a young buck. So again, a simple if statement, what this allows you to do is give it one option and an alternative option. But there's a way where you can do more than just two options. And you do this by, in the middle of if and else, you add something called a else if. And what this is pretty much a third option. So let's say, alright, if age is greater than 60, print this. Actually, let's put greater or equal to. Else, if age is greater or equal to 50, we want you to print you are in your 50s. And we can have as many of these else if statements as we want. So unlike last time where we only had one alternative, it tests to see if age is equal or where it stands in many different tests. So if it's greater than 60, do this. And if it's not greater than 60, then it must be less than 60. So else if it's greater than 50, do this. And we can do this all the way down. Actually, let's go ahead and just copy that, save us some time. Copy and paste, and let's change this to 40 and 40s. So let me put 45, and I'll show you guys why this does this. Go ahead and put run, and it says you are in your 40s. So here's what it did. It can only do one of these things. So here's what it does. The first thing it does, and remember our age is 45, it says, alright, is age greater or equal to 60? Nope, it's less, so I'm not doing this. Is age greater or equal to 50? Nope, it's not, so I'm not doing this. Is age greater or equal to 40? Yes, it is greater than 40, so I am doing this. You are in your 40s. So that's why it outputted you are in your 40s. And again, whenever you use the if statement, as soon as it finds its answer, it exits the whole thing. So it can only do this, 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 or this. And since it did this one, since age was greater than 40, there was no need to go to the else because it already found its answer. So that's how you can give a variable many tests using an if else statement. Again, the if is the main test, and the else if statements are alternative tests if these previous tests are false. So it's pretty much just a way to give it a bunch of different options when testing the same variable, or you can even test different variables if you want to be dumb. But that's your basic tutorial on an else if statement and how to use it in Java programming. Again, it's called else if, and it goes in between the if and else to give it more options. So in the next couple of tutorials, I'll probably be clearing this up later and showing you guys why it's actually useful in applications. But for now, I just wanted to show you guys the basics of it. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to check out all my other videos. So again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 20th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be talking to you guys about something called a conditional operator. Now, what conditional operators are is pretty much another way of using an if-else statement, but it's really compact and it's really small. So go ahead and create a variable called age and set it equal to 21, or set it equal to whatever you want. It's not going to matter. What a conditional operator is let me just show you. Make a simple print statement, system out print line, and in this print line, this operator is so small that we can write the entire thing as an argument. And what it is this. The first thing you need to do is give it a test. So if age is greater than 50, after you give it a test, you add a question mark. And what this means is treat this as a Boolean expression. So it's going to see if age is greater than 50, is it? Well, now you have to give it two options. If this is true, you're going to give it it's going to execute the first option. If it's false, it's going to execute the second option. So since this is already in a print statement, all we have to do is add strings of text. So if it's greater than 50, put "you are old." And how you separate the true from the false, you add a colon, not a semicolon. That's a regular colon. And if it's false, let's put "you are young." So let me go ahead and run this, and let me show you guys what it does. It says "you are young" in the run box. And let me show you guys why this is. Don't mind any of this. This is not what we're learning today. What it does is we asked it a simple question. Is age greater than 50? Well, you only have two choices, yes or no. So then, after you do this, after the question mark, you need to give it what happens if this is true. If age is greater than 50 and this is true, we want you to do this. If it's false then and it's less than 50, then we want you to do this. So again, ask it a question. This is going to come true or false. If it's true, do this. If it's false, do this, in that order. And don't forget this question mark and also the colon right here. And remember, it isn't a semicolon. So that's your real quick tutorial on how to use a conditional operator. And again, this is sometimes can be substituted for if-else statement. But I'm usually going to be writing just basic if-else statements. I just wanted to show you guys, in case you come across this, you actually know what it is and aren't lost. So that's it for this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out my next tutorial and make sure to subscribe to my channel. So again, thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. What's up guys, welcome to your 21st tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to be building a simple application to average a bunch of numbers together. Now, we already learned all the basic tools, but we haven't really seen how to combine them all and build a simple program. So that's what I'm going to be teaching you guys in this tutorial. Again, what I'm going to be doing is inputting 10 numbers into the program, and it's going to give me the average. So the first thing we need to input numbers is the scanner. So let's go ahead and import it. Again, that's Java util scanner. And this allows us to import the scanner, but we also need to create an object so we can use it after we imported it. So let's go ahead and make scanner input. You can name it anything you want. New scanner with a parameter of system in. And don't forget, our system in is the keyboard, so that's why we add that. Now that we have a scanner we can use, we can begin making the variables we need for this program. So let's go ahead and make int total equal to 0, and this is going to be the total of all the numbers. Let's say we're inputting grades. Say we're like a teacher and importing grades. So next we need another one called int grade, and this is going to be the grade we enter. We have a next one called int average, and this is going to be after everything is done, we're going to average them all together, so we need a variable for that. And we also need the last one, that's int counter, and we're going to set that equal to 0 because we want to make sure our counter starts at 0. And I'll show you what that counter variable is right here when we're building our while loop. The counter variable is just the counter for the while loop. So you're going to say while counter is less than 10. So this while loop is going to execute 10 times. But what do we want to do 10 times? Well, since we're importing or inputting 10 numbers, we're going to want to put grade equals input next, excuse me, you need a dot since it's an object, next int with empty parameters. And what this does is this: it allows whatever number you input to be stored in the variable grade. So say you inputted a 3, grade is now going to be equal to 3, but that's not very useful unless we can add it to the total so we can average it later. So now we have total equals total plus grade. And what this does is take that grade and add it to the total of whatever it was before. And if you're saying, alright, how come you don't just put total equals grade? Because if you had like 30 in this before, it would now be equal to 3, and you want to add it to that 30, so it would be equal to 33. So that's what that does. Now you just need to do spell that right, counter plus plus, and this will increment your counter each time, so it actually goes through the loop. So here's what we have going on right now. We inputted a grade, we added that grade to total whatever it was before, and then we added 1 so we can actually get out of this loop. Now we have a while loop. What we need to do is find the average of the total. So let's go ahead and write average equal total over 10, and we know that it's 10 because that's how many numbers we entered. And now that we have our average calculated, let's just output it on the screen. So system out println, and let's put something like your average is plus average. So let's go ahead and run this and see how many errors I got. And if nothing pops up in the run box, then you know you're good to go. So let's go ahead and enter 10 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And it says your average is 5, which it should be. 1 through 5 average, 1 through 10 average is 10. So let me show you guys one last time how this simple program works. This and this is just a scanner, which you should know allows you to input numbers. You now have 4 variables. The total holds the sum of all the grades. The grade allows you to import numbers individually. Average is going to be used later to average them all together. And this is just a counter variable for the while loop, which you should know what it does. Next, you put input next int, and it's going to be temporarily stored in grade. And it's only temporarily because you change it with each loop. This total keeps a running tally of all the grades you entered. So total equals the old total plus the new grade. So this gives you a new total each time that keeps adding and adding up. After you have 10 grades entered, you take the average of the total, which is the sum of all the grades, and divide it by 10. And after all of that, you just give the user a nice little prompt. The average is, and it gives you the average. So again, this is how you can build a simple program using the tools we have thus far. And again, you can add some if statements in here if you want. It says if grade is less than 4, do this. If grade is higher than 5, do that. But we'll get to that later. I wanted teaching you some more advanced stuff before that. So again, that's how you build a basic program. I know you guys were itching to build something. So there you go. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And make sure to check out all my other tutorials and for all my latest Java programming, all that good stuff. So again, thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky, and welcome to your 20-second Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be talking to you guys about a for loop. Now the last couple tutorials I've been going over while loops, and this was a different loop, but a for loop is something totally new. So let me show you guys what the syntax for this is. Go ahead and type for, and as you can see it pops up in purple, and that's why you know it's a built-in variable, or excuse me, a built-in keyword. And the for loop takes 3 arguments or 3 statements inside it. The first one is where you want the loop to start, the second one's where you want the loop to end, and the third one is how much you want to increment it by. So if you want step 1 at a time or 3 at a time. So let me show you guys. You need to use the variable 3 times. So the first statement, you want to initialize a counter variable, and let's go ahead and set it equal to 1. And this is because we want our loop to start at the number 1. The next one is the same thing you did in the while loop. It's the loop condition. So let's go ahead and put counter less than or equal to 10. So now our loop starts at 1, and it's going to go until it's less than or equal to 10. So it's going to go until 10. So next thing, we want to say how much do we want our counter to increment by. Well, we just want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we want to increment it 1 at a time. So it's going to start at 1. As long as it's less than or equal to 10, it's going to keep going. And we want you to go 1 at a time. So that's the 3 parameters your for loop takes. So now let's go ahead and write something in our for loop. Let's just write system out println, and we'll just print the counter. counter. Now let's go ahead and run this, see if we got any errors. And we don't, and as you can see down in our run box, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, this happened because it started at 1, our counter variable. The next thing it did is ran until it was greater or equal, less than or equal to 10. Once it got to 11, it says, alright, am I less than or equal to 10? No, so I'm not going to do this loop anymore. And then I incremented it 1 at a time. You can also increment it like something like 3 at a time by pressing plus equals 3. Remember we learned that in one of the previous tutorials. Now, once you change the incrementer, instead of stepping by 1, it steps by 3 at a time. 1, 4, 7, 10. The next one's 13, which is outside our condition, so it proves false. But again, we can change the starting point. Say we wanted to start it at 6 and go until let's say 21. So now it starts at 6 and goes to 21 and steps by 3s. So let's go ahead and run this. And as you can see, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and then it stops. So that is how you use the basics of the for loop. Again, it takes 3 statements or parameters. The first one is where you want to start. The second one's where you want to end, or it's going to run as long as this condition is true. And the third one is how much you want to increment by. So this is a variation. There's also the while loop and the for loop we learned this far. There's also a couple other loops that I'm going to be teaching you probably in the next couple tutorials. But for now, play along with the play around. There we go. Not play along with it. Play around with a for loop until you get good at it. And once you do, you're ready to move on to the next tutorial. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Welcome to your 23rd tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be building a simple program. So now that we learned what the for loop was, I'm going to be building a program to calculate something called compound interest. And this is pretty much like interest if you put your money in like a savings account or something. It will allow you to see how much money you have in the future. What I'm going to be using it for is to see how many subscribers that I'm going to have in the future. So right now, if you're watching this tutorial, and I'm making this when I have about 10,000 subscribers, and I figured out that I gain 1% of my subscribers each day. So with that information, I'm going to be able to calculate how much subscribers or how many I'm going to have in the future. So the formula for compound interest is this: A, which stands for the amount, and this is going to be what we're solving for, the future amount, equals P, which is the principal, which is 10,000, times 1 plus R. And again, R equals the rate, and all of this is to the power of, the power of n, and n is the number of years. So we want to solve for A, and what we need to do is find P, which is the principal, 10,000, times 1 plus 1% to the power of n, and this is the number of years. So if this sounds really complicated, let me show you guys how to do this using a for loop, and you will be substantially impressed, I promise you. So we need 3 variables: double amount, and we don't know what this is yet, so we're just going to leave it set to nothing. Double principal, and again, we're using double because we want to use decimal points. We can't use int because these aren't whole numbers. We need to use decimal points. So double principal, we know what this is, 10,000, since that's how many subscribers I have to begin with. And don't put the comma there. 10,000. So we have the amount, the principal, and I told you guys the last thing they need is the rate. So double rate equals 0.01, since I'm gaining subscribers at 1% a day. So now that we have the amount, which we're solving for, we have the principal, the value that I'm starting with, and the rate, 1% a day, we can go ahead and make a for loop to build this program. So go ahead, and all this for loop is going to do is say how long do you want to run it for. Well, let's go ahead. Int day, we want to start with the first day, and we want to go to day 20. We can go to whatever we want. Just put less than or equal to 20, and put day plus plus. And all this says is start on day 1. Give me all the information from day 1 to day 20. That's all this does. Now let's get to the good stuff. We want to solve for amount. So that's what we're going to be setting it equal to, since we don't know what it is yet. But we do know what the formula is for it. It's principal, and make sure you type these right, principal, and again you need to times this by something to the power, and this calls for an outside method that's math.pow. Now again you can see right here that it takes two arguments. The first argument's what's in the parentheses, and the second argument's the exponent. So again, let's go ahead and add those arguments right here. The first thing what's in the parentheses is 1 plus rate. And what do you want to give the exponent? Year. Or let's see what it was, day actually. So now we have 1 plus rate, which is amount equals principal, which is 10,000, times 1 plus 0.01 to the day, and that day is going to loop. So now all we have to do is print this out on the screen. System out print line, and let's go ahead and print year, actually day. Again, whenever you use like compound interest and stuff, you usually use year, but no one really uses day unless you're looking at YouTube subscribers, so that's why I keep typing year. Plus, and add a couple spaces, amount. There you go. So let's go ahead and run this, and I'll show you guys what it does. So now we have a list down here that says how many subscribers I'm going to have each day. So on the end of the first day, or after one day, I'm going to have 10,100 subscribers. That sounds about right. That's 1%. And as you can see, at the end of 10 days from now, I'm going to have 1,146 subscribers and a couple half subscribers here. And at the end of 20 days, I'm going to have over 12,000 subscribers. So that is how you can build a program to calculate something like investments or your mortgage payments or something like that. Again, let me show you guys how this works one last time, as I always do. We needed principles. We needed 3 variables because that's how many variables are in this formula. You need to figure out the amount, which we don't know yet, but we do know the principal, which is the starting point, and the rate. We want to set the amount, which you don't know yet. It equals the principal times 1 plus the rate, which is 0.01, times the day. And this is where the for loop comes in handy, because this goes 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 20. And next we just outputted it on the screen. So again, if you're watching this tutorial, then Google what the formula for compound interest is, and you'll be able to follow along easier. It's kind of hard seeing in this unless you're looking at the formula. But that's pretty much how you calculate compound interest. So thank you guys for watching my tutorial. Play around with this, and I promise after you do it one time, you'll be an expert at it. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed building a simple application. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next tutorial. So guys, welcome to your 24th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you the do while loop in Java. Now, what the while loop did, if you remember, is it had a test condition, and whenever that test condition was true, it executed the loop body. But what the do while loop does is execute the body before it even gets the test condition, so you're guaranteed to execute the body at least once before you even check to see if you should be doing it or not. So the first thing we need to, in order for me to show you guys how to do this, is a variable. Just make a variable called counter or something, set it equal to 0. Next, let me show you guys the syntax for the do while loop. Go ahead and write do, and then write something to do in your body of your loop. I'm just going to put system out print line, and I'm just going to print that variable counter, but I'm going to spell it right. And next I'm just going to increment the variable counter so this loop actually ends. And now after you're writing your loop body, then you write the while condition. So you want to do this while your variable counter is less than or equal to 10. So let's go ahead and show you guys why this works. As you can see in the run box, it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops. So we had a counter that was initialized to 0, and it did print it out while the counter is less than 10. And if you're saying, alright, this looks an awfully lot alike, wait a minute, it looks an awfully lot alike, there we go, like the while loop. So if you're wondering why is this even different, let me show you guys. It only does this loop while the counter is less than or equal to 10. So what if our counter was initialized to 15 or something like that? Well, what it would do, since it doesn't check the condition until after the loop, is it executes this first, so it would print out 15 and then it would see, alright, I'm only supposed to do this while it's less than or equal to 10, so I'm not going to do it anymore. So let me go ahead and run this, and as you can see in our run box we get 15. So that is the difference between a while loop and a do loop. Anytime you want to do something at least once, you use a do loop. Anytime you want to test it first and only run it if the test is true, that's when you use a while loop. But again, a do while loop guarantees you at least one run of your loop, and a while loop only runs it when the test is true. So that is how you use a basic do combined with a while loop to form a do while loop. That's what it's called. So practice this, and after a while you get good with it, and I'll show you why it's useful later on. This wasn't really a useful application, but this does have many uses in Java programming, so I'll show you why when we build applications later on. But for now, just get familiar with the syntax with it, and once you are familiar with it, you're ready to move on to my next tutorial. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 25th Java tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be going over different methods in the math class. Now let's see, it was probably like 2 tutorials ago when I built a simple compound interest calculator. We use one of the methods called power by using pow, and this allows us to use the power function, methods they're called in Java. But in this one I'm going to be teaching you about other useful methods. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and make a print line out on the screen. So print line, and make it take an empty parameter for now. And in this parameter I'm going to be putting all the methods of the math class. So go ahead and type math, put your dot separator, and then the first one, first one I want to teach you guys about is called the absolute value, and that's ABS, and inside your parameter it takes one number. Now what the absolute value does is take any number, negative or not, and give you the absolute value of it. So if you have 26.7 and you go ahead and run this, it would output 26.7. This is pretty much, if you have a positive 26 it would give you 26. If you have negative 26 it would give you 26. How much away from 0 that this is. So that's what ABS does, absolute value. The next thing I want to teach you about is ceil, and this stands for ceiling. Any number you give it, it's going to round it up. So if you give it 7.4, when you run it, it's going to round it to 8. So even if it is really supposed to round down to 7, when you use ceil, it always rounds it up. Now since it has ceil, there's always something called floor. Again, this takes a number, say you have 7.8, it always rounds it down. So again, ceil always rounds up the number, floor always rounds down the number. So your floor, if you have 7.8, is going to be 7. Now that we learned absolute value, ceil, and floor, let me teach you about something else called max. Now this is the first one where in the last 3 we learned how to make a method that takes only one parameter, but max is the first one that takes multiple parameters in a single method. So what max does is you give it 2 numbers and it gives you the maximum of those numbers. So say you have 2 parameters, 8.6 and separate them with a comma and 5.2. Whenever you run this, it gives you 8.6 because that's the maximum of the two numbers. So that's how you can get two numbers and find the maximum of those. And again, whenever you have a method like that, you also have the opposite, and this one is called min. What min does is take the lesser of the two numbers. So let's run this, and the lesser of 8.6 and 5.2 is 5.2, right down there. So now we learn absolute value, ceil floor, max min. Again, our power function, which takes power, and say you want something like 5 to the third power, you would use 5 for your first argument and 3 for your next one. Again, when you run this was the same one we used in our compound interest calculator. It gets 125 since 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And the last built-in method I want to teach about in the math class is something called square root. In SQRT, that's what it stands for. It only takes one parameter, such as 9, and it finds the square root of that number. So when you run this, the square root of 9 is 3, outputs 3. So that's how you use your built-in methods from your math class. Again, you want to notice that you don't need to create an object like you do when you're making your own classes. This is built in. So that's how you use math with your dot separator and then the method name, and then put however many arguments it takes. I just showed you guys, let's see, absolute value, ceil floor, max, min, pow, square root. I just showed you guys the 7 probably most common ones, and those are the ones we're going to be working with from now on. So I just want to show you guys what those do because we're going to be using them, and I don't want you guys to get lost. So play around with those, throw them in your built-in methods, and you can make some pretty cool stuff with those. So for now, I just want to show you guys that. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next tutorial. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to your 26th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be building a random number generator. We're going to be importing that from a class, and I'm going to be showing you how you can use random number generators to, you guessed it, generate random numbers. So let's go ahead and pretend we were building a program so we could roll a dice, and whatever the outcome of the dice, it just outputted on our screen. So whenever we want to use random numbers, we need to import something like we did scanner, but this one is called random. So go ahead, put import java util, and the name for this is random. Ugh, got smoker's cough or something. So let's go ahead and import random, and now just like the scanner, we need to make an object for it. So I'm going to name mine dice. You can name yours whatever you want, and of course that's equal to new, not random, with empty parameters. So now that we got our dice object, we can use random numbers. So the other thing we need is a temporary variable called number. It doesn't need to be called number, but I'm going to call it number, and this is going to store the number that outputs on the dice. So for example, it's going to store 1 to 6 depending on what number you roll. So I just don't want to roll the dice once, I want to roll it 10 times. So for that, I'm going to need a for loop. So let's go ahead and put for int counter. Let's start it at 1. Let's say while counter is less than or equal to 10, and let's increment it by 1. So now we have a loop that's executing 10 times. So now we got to give it some instruction. Well, since number doesn't have a value yet, let's go ahead and give it a value. Now what you would usually do is use your object like this, number equals dice, and then put your dot separator next int because you're getting an integer, and then type in how many options you want it to have. And since a dice has options 1 to 6, I'm going to go ahead and put 6 right there. Now this would work right here, and let me show you guys what this does. Let's just go ahead and system out print line, and this is gonna work fine, so you can pay attention to this number plus, and we don't need that other one right there. So looks good enough. Let's run it and see what it does. It says 3 2 3 4 5 0 1 1 2 1. those look like random numbers, but the problem is all of these random numbers, if you couldn't tell, they go from 0 to 5. And why is that? Well, I'm about to show you guys right now. Whenever you use this random number generator and you give it 6 options, the options that it takes by default are 0 through 5 if you use 6. Again, that's 6 numbers, but when it includes 0, it only goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what if instead of 0 through 5 is your 6 options, you wanted 1 through 6, which we do want since it's a dice and the dice doesn't have 0. Well, what you do in this case is simply put 1 plus and then use our dice object to call this. And what this does is it still uses the numbers 0 through 5 in this, but it adds 1 to them. So what it does is give the illusion that we're getting the numbers 1 through 6, excuse me. So now let's run this again and we'll see what we get. As you can see, there's no zeros and you get 4, 1, 6, 2, 2, 4, 3, 1, 1, 2. And all of these numbers are in the range of 1 to 6, and that's what we want. So again, if you want to do this, all you have to do is list however many numbers you want in your range, and if you put 6 by default, it's going to give you 0 through 5, since all computer counting starts at 0. But if we want the numbers 1 to 6, we have to add this little 1 addition sign, and that takes 0 through 5 and adds 1 to them, or increments them over, pushes them all over by 1. So instead of 0 through 5, you get 1 to 6. So that's your quick tutorial on how to import the random class, how to make a random object called dice, and how to use that dice object to go fetch random numbers for you, and also how to add 1 to give yourself kind of a starting point. So that's how in slot machines or any program that uses random numbers that they make that. And we'll be doing some more complex things with this, but for now I just wanted to give you guys the core basics of a random number generator, and that's this. So thank you guys for watching. Copy this code and play around with it, and soon enough you'll be experts at it, I promise. So again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next tutorial. What's up YouTube? Welcome to your 27th tutorial, and this tutorial is on arrays. Now what an array is pretty much a variable that can store many values in it. So it's useful when you wanna have a variable that has a bunch of related information. And the thing about an array is that it can only store values of the same data type. So if you want to store a string and an integer in the same array, you can't do that. So the easiest way to explain what an array is just to build it and show you guys how it works and what it does. So I'm going to do just that. The syntax for creating an array is simply, first thing you have to type in is what type of array you want to create. And I want to create an integer array to hold integers, so go ahead and press int. The next thing you do is name your array, and I'm going to name mine Bucky so it doesn't get confused. The next thing you do is put square brackets, and this is right between the P and the backslash on your keyboard. And this is just so the square brackets tell Java that you're going to be working with an array. If you did this, then it would just be a regular variable. But when you put the square brackets in, Java knows, alright, you're about to make an array. The next thing you do is set it equal to new, since it's a new array, int again, or whatever type of data you're going to store, and square brackets. The only thing different is, inside the second square brackets, you need to put a number in there. And this number indicates how many values or how many variables you're going to store in your single array. So I'm going to store 10 variables or 10 values, and if you don't know exactly what's going on, I'll show you right now. So now we created an array and it's named Bucky, and I told you guys that you can store 10 values in this single array named Bucky, and you're saying, alright, how do I do that? Well, since we created a variable, or excuse me, an array named Bucky, we have something called indexes for that array, and each index allows us to store a separate value, and those indexes begin with 0 and go all the way to 9. And again, your computer's kind of weird because even though you made 10 elements, it doesn't start 1 and then go to 10. It actually starts 0 to 9 because your computer loves to start counting at 0 for some reason. So our 0th element in Bucky, which is our first element, we can set it equal to any value. Let's set it equal to 87 so you don't get confused. Next, you go ahead and make your next index or your next element of your array and set this equal to some other value. I'll set it equal to 543, and you do this all the way until you get to the last one, which is 9. Let me just leave a couple out because I don't feel like typing them all. And now once you did all of this and you set all your elements of your array equal to value, you can use those elements in your array, and I'll show you how to use them. Let's just go ahead and make a system out print statement, print line, might as well. All you can do in order to use this array, instead of giving the variable name, you just give the name of the array and type whatever index you want to use. So if I used Bucky1 to print out, what it would do is say, alright, what's the value for Bucky1? 543. Let's go ahead and run this, and look in our run screen, 543. So that's how you can use an array. And again, an array is pretty much a single variable that can hold multiple values depending on what you typed. So for example, we made this array able to hold 10 values, so it was able to hold 10 things. I only made 3 right here because I was too lazy, but you can make 0 through 9, which would give you 10. And again, how you use it, just write the name of your array and then write this little subscript that's called an index inside, and that's how you reference it, just like you reference a regular variable. Now if you're saying, alright, an array wouldn't be really useful if we needed to type every single variable over and over again. Well, an array comes in handy. Let me get rid of this stuff right here. One of the neat things about an array is you don't have to type 10 variables when making your array. There's another way that you can do this, and let's just go ahead and get rid of everything. Let's tighten this up a little bit. That's what she said. Another thing you can do is make something called an array initializer. And what this does is it initializes all your arrays without having to type the array name, subscript value, array 1 subscript value, array 2 subscript blah, blah, blah. It gets hard to even say. So here's how you make an array initializer. Go ahead and type what type of array you want, Bucky, and again don't forget to square bracket so it knows we're working with array. But instead of typing new int 10, what you can do is just simply add those little curly bracket things and go ahead and begin typing numbers in here. 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. And what this does is instead of having to tell your array how many values you want to store in it, it automatically counts how many values you put in and assigns a subscript to each one of those. So instead of putting Bucky 0 equals 2, Bucky 1 equals 4, Bucky 2 equals 5, Bucky 3 equals 7, Bucky 4 equals 9, it automatically does that for you in this entire statement. So now whenever we use Bucky and say we wanted to use 2, again it would be Bucky 0, Bucky 1, Bucky 2. So Bucky 2 would be equal to 5. So let's see if we got it right. Run it, and as you can see, it outputs the number 5. So again, this is a different way that you can create an array using an array initializer. I don't even know what the first thing is called. I guess it's just called initializing or creating an array or something. But this is how most people do it, and create an array initializer, and then you don't have to go through the process of typing Bucky 0 equals yada yada yada. You don't have to do that a million times. All you have to do is type it in a nice little list, and it automatically does all the work for you. And again, whenever you want to use one of your values or variables in your array, just write the name of the array and the number. And again, the number is called the subscript or index. I usually call it the index or just number. So that is your quick tutorial on arrays and how to create an array, and also how to make an array initializer. So I hope you enjoyed it. Practice this a little bit, and in the next couple tutorials I'll show you how to use arrays in programs and how they're useful and why they're useful in applications. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out my next tutorial, and I will see you then. So guys, welcome to your 28th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to be creating just a basic array table to show you guys visually the index and value of each array. So let's go ahead and just make a header for our table using a system out print line statement, and I'm just going to put index and then put a tab, and \t is just a tab. It's like 5 spaces or something. I didn't feel like typing 5 spaces because I'm lazy. Just put \t, then put value. Let me show you guys what this is real quick. This gives you this index value, and that's the header for our table. So now we have a header. I can go ahead and list the index and value of each array. But before we do that, we need an array, of course. So I'm going to make an integer array called Bucky, and I'm going to use that array initializer that we used last time, and go ahead and add like 5 or 6 values or something. Add like 32, 18, 54, and 2. It doesn't really matter how many values you add, as you'll see why later on. But go ahead and make an array and put some values in there. It doesn't really matter what they are or how many you have. Next, let's go ahead and make a for loop to loop through each index of our array. So let's go ahead and press for, and we want it to start. Let's make a counter variable before I keep talking. We want it to start at 0 because our array, our first index of our array is 0. Even though it might have 6 elements in it or 5, the first one is the 0th index. And you'll see why this is later on. And then the next thing you want to do is give it, how long do you want to go? Well, as long as it's less than however many are in your array. And this brings me to another point. Every time you make an array, your computer knows how many objects are in that array, and it stores it in something called the name of your array .length. And the only thing that's going to change in this is the first one. Whatever you named your array .length would be in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So counter is less than 5. But if your array changes, you don't have to change this. So anytime you put your array name .length, that gives you the length of your array. It's built into Java. It's a pretty cool function. And now let's just make it increment by 1. And now that we have our for loop looping through 5 times beginning at 0, we can begin to use this. So let's go ahead and make a print statement out print line. Did I type it right? Hopefully. And the first thing we want to output is the counter. And what the counter is going to resemble is our index. It starts at 0 and it goes to 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is going to resemble the index. So this counter has the exact same value as the index. Next, let's go ahead and just put a tab, because I'm too lazy to put a bunch of spaces. And now our last value we want to enter, and this is going to be under the value tab of our table. We want to enter the value of the array. So Bucky, and in here we have the index, which is going to be counter. So let me run this and let me show you guys what this does. Hopefully I don't have any errors, and I don't. So here's what it does. As you can see, we have built a nice little table right here that shows us what index of our array is and what the value is. So Bucky 0 equals 32, 1, 12, and so on. Now as you can see, Bucky 0 equals 32, 1, 12, 218, 354, 4, 2. And that's what this table did down here. There you go. Now let me show you guys, or explain to you guys one last time why this works. The first thing we needed to do was create a header. This is just so to make it look pretty much. The next thing we did was create an array initializer, and I taught you guys how to do this in the last tutorial. The next thing we did was make a for loop, and key here is you need it to start at 0, and this is because your first index starts at 0, so that's where we want this to start. As you can see right here, index starts at 0. After that, what you did is enter a maximum for how far you want your counter to go, and your maximum depends on how big your array is, and you can get this by the special length thing I told you about. And of course you want to go through it one at a time. After that, you just output it on the screen, counter, which was the index, which was cycled 0 through 4, this thing, which just gave you a bunch of spaces in between, and Bucky, and then the counter inside it, or the subscript inside it. And whenever you did this, it referenced, say you reference Bucky 1, it would give you this value. Bucky 2, this value. Bucky 3, Bucky 4, Bucky 0. So that is how you build a basic table to, it pretty much is just a nice visual so you can see the indexes and values of your arrays. So that's pretty much all that does, and I hope you understood that at least a little bit. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 29th Java tutorial, and I'm going to make a real quick tutorial this time by a request. I'm going to show you guys how to sum all the elements in your array, or to use all the elements in your array in any calculation. So let's go ahead, and in order to do that, the first thing we need is an array. So I'm going to name mine Bucky as usual. I'm going to make the array initializer, so you don't need to add the number, it'll do it for you. Say you wanted to average the ages of people. Go ahead and write however many elements you want in your array, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. These would be their ages or anything. Once you have an array, and I just use an object initializer, or excuse me, array initializer, go ahead and make a variable called a sum, or some variable you can use to keep your total of all your elements. And make sure to set it equal to 0, because that's what you want it to start out as. The next thing we need to do was, like last tutorial, we need to make a for loop. And this is going to loop through every element in the array. So of course, let's go ahead and make a counter variable. And since the first index of every array is 0, we want to start at 0. And then just do the little array length. So what's this? Bucky length. And this will give you the length of this array. That's the trick I told you guys how to do last time. And then go ahead and increment it by 1. After this, and you don't really need these curly brackets since it's only one line, but you want to take the sum and you want to add the previous number to it. So let's go ahead and do that. And what this is going to do is take whatever the value is and add it to the sum. So first it's going to take 21, add it to 0, 16 added to 21, 86 added to that, 21 added to that, 3 added to that. And it's going to go through and store all of these values added together in the variable sum. So then, once we have all that, all we have to do is output it on the screen. So let's go ahead and put system out print line, or whatever print you feel like using. And then let's go ahead and write the sum of these, might as well spell it like that, numbers is, and then let's go ahead and write our sum variable, and this should be it. Hopefully it works. There we go. And let's go ahead and run this, and if it works, actually I forgot to put a space right there, but the sum of these numbers is 147 right there. And again, it displayed it like that because I forgot to put a space right there. And if I do, it gives us our correct. The sum of these numbers is 147. So that again, to recap one last time, go ahead and do your housekeeping like this. What you do if you want to use all these numbers in calculation, and again, you don't have to get the sum, you can multiply them together or anything like that. Just take a variable and just loop through your entire array using your for loop that I told you last time, and use your neat little math trick that I told you before to, in this right here, this will loop through each element in your array and get the value of it. So that is how you use this neat little summing of the elements of an array trick to get the sum or any other calculation you want when looking at your array. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully now you know how to sum all of the elements in your array. I hope to see you next time, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. What's up everyone, it is Bucky. Welcome to your 30th Java tutorial. And in this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to build a program where you can take array elements and store them as counters. Now we already built a little random number generator where we rolled a dice and we stored those numbers, but in this program I'm going to make it a lot easier and show you guys how to do it with an array. So we're going to be building a dice, rolling it like 1,000 times probably, and storing how often each number pops up. So of course we need a random number generator, so let's go ahead and import Java util random. And now once we imported that, we can use it. So let's go ahead and put random. I'm going to call my object rand and set it equal to new random, and we don't need any parameters for that. And now let's go ahead and make a frequency array. So just name it freak or whatever, not that kind of freak, this kind, and just set it equal to new int 7. Now if you're saying, alright, there's only 6 sides on a die, why am I having 7 elements in my array? Well, we're creating 7 elements because remember the indexes go from 0 to 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since 0 is included, that's 7 elements. And we're going to have an array index of 0 and 1 to 6 that we aren't going to use. We aren't going to use we aren't going to use 0, but we need 1 to 6. So that's why we need 7 elements, so we can get 1 to 6. If we only created 6, then it would go from 0 to 5. So now we can go ahead and make a for loop to roll the die 1,000 times. So let's go ahead and put for and just put int roll equals 1. We'll start at roll number 1, and let's put like roll, if you want to roll 1,000, just go ahead and put 1,000, and of course go ahead and increment it by 1. And again, this just loops this 1,000 times. So you should know that, but what I want to teach you guys is this. Anytime that roll pops up, actually let me go ahead and write the line of code first, and then you can see exactly what's going on. Go ahead and take your frequency array and go ahead, you want to add 1 to something. You want to go ahead and put your random number generator in this, and ours was named rand.nextInt, and of course we want, let's see, 6. Now let me show you guys what this does. This is the most important piece of code in this entire program, and let me break it down from the inside out. This is going to give you the numbers 0 through 5, as you should already know. What this 1 does is shift it all over so you get the numbers 1 to 6 instead of 0 through 5. So if you're saying, alright, what's this then? What this does is add 1 each time that this hits that number. So for example, frequency 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all set to 0 to begin with. If this rolls and on the first roll it gets a 3, then freak 3 is going to equal 1. If it rolls again and it hits a 3, freak 3 is going to equal 2. If it hits again and again and again, freak 3 is going to equal 4, 5, and 6. And it's going to keep count of all of the indexes, and every time that it hits that number, it's going to add 1 to that index. So let me go ahead and well, you'll see what this does. So the first thing I'm going to add is a header so you guys actually know what's going on. Let's go ahead and print line, and let's just print something like face, then add tab, frequency, I don't know if I spelled it right, but it'll do, pig, that'll do. 4, and the last thing we need to build is just something to output our data. So the only thing we have outputted right now is a header that says face frequency. Next we want to make a table to show you guys face, here's frequency. So let's go ahead, and again we need to start at 1, or remember the first number on the dice is 1, so face equals 1, and face, let's just have it less than freak dot length. Remember I showed you guys that in a couple tutorials ago, and just increment it by 1. And now what do I want to do in this loop? Remember, this loop's going to go 1 to 6, and it's basically just going to make a table that has the list 1 to 6. So I want to put system out print line, not print line. Can't get it. Print line. There we go. Finally. And let's go ahead and put face, because that's going to be the first variable we want output is just a face. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next thing we want output is just a tab to give some spaces, and then after that we want to output the value of each array index. So put your array, name your array right there, and put your indexes right there. So let me run this program, make sure I don't have any errors, and I'll show you guys what we got. We got a table that says face and frequency, and again we got that just by adding this face frequency, and then we have your array index number and your array value. Index number, value, index number, value. And again, if you're wondering, alright, I know right here we created an array with 7 and this equals 6. Well, actually your array index, it starts at 0, but we just wanted output on the table 1 because we don't need 0 for anything. We could have added 0 right there, and when you ran it, it would give us this. It would give us 6 to 1, and it would give us 0. But again, since this dice doesn't have a 0, we didn't use it. So that's why 0 equals 0. So now you can see the number 1 rolled 160 times, the number 2 rolled 158 times, and after rolling the dice 1,000 times, here's the distribution of all that. So again, let me talk to you guys one last time and show you guys exactly what we did. Imported a random number generator right here. You guys know how to do that. We made an array called frequency, and we set it equal to 7 elements in that array. What we did right here was make a random number generator to roll the numbers 0 through 5, and we moved that over so it rolled 1 to 6. Anytime it rolled one of those numbers, it took and added 1 to that index or that value in that array. Next, we just made a header right here, and right here what we did is we just made a basic table. We started it from 0, which we actually started at 1, but I just showed you guys. We went all the way to 6, and this just made 1 to 6, and then we just outputted the value. So again, we outputted the dice number, which was the index number, and the value. So that is how you create a basic using elements and storing them as counters in an array. So it's kind of confusing, but just play around with it and trust me, you'll get the hang of it. So thank you guys for watching my 30th Java tutorial. There's going to be a lot more to come, so keep an eye out. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to check out all my latest contests. So again, thank you, and hopefully I'll see you next tutorial. What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 31st Java tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be talking to you guys about something called an enhanced for statement. Now, in the last couple tutorials I showed you guys how to use a counter controlled for statement to add up all the values in an array or just sum them all together. Well, actually Java made a very easier way to do this, and they named it an enhanced for statement. So let me show you guys how to do it. First thing we need is an array, and I'm going to name mine Bucky as usual. I'm going to use my array initializer and just set it equal to like 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go, good enough. Now let's go ahead and we need another variable to hold the sum of the array, and you can name it sum or total, whatever you want. And now let's get the good stuff, the enhanced for statement. Now this is kind of like a for loop, but it's different in a couple ways. It's different. Instead of taking 3 options, it only takes 2 different things that it needs in the parameters or parentheses. The first thing it needs is a type of data and an identifier. Now this is kind of like a counter variable in your regular for loops, but it's kind of different. This is, of course, the kind of data it takes, no surprise. In the X, what the X is it's going to store the values in the array as it's looping through your array. So the first time it loops through, it's going to store 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. And you just need a variable to hold all those values, so that's why this is called the type and this is called the identifier. Next, after that, the only other thing it takes is the name of the array. Now, if you're saying, alright, why do I have to name this array? In case you have more than one array in your program, one named Bucky, one named Tunafish, one named Dogwood, it knows what array you're talking about. So now that we have our for loop, our enhanced for loop, or for statement with our type, identifier, and name, we can go ahead and do something with it. So let's just go ahead and take that total and set it equal to X. And what's this going to do is it loops through is add these numbers to total each time it loops. So the first time it's going to add 3 to 0, then 4 to 3, then 5 to 7, and it's just going to keep adding up till it gets the sum, and eventually total is going to hold the sum of all those numbers. So now that total holds the sum of all those numbers, let's go ahead and just print out system out. Come on, print line. There you go. Total. Now let's go ahead and just print it out. Make sure we don't have any errors, and we get the value 25. So let me show you guys what this did one more time. We went and we made an array called Bucky using an array initializer. We then went and made another variable named total and set it equal to 0, and this would hold the sum of our array. Next, we made this special enhanced for statement. The first argument it takes is the type and identifier, what variable you want to store the array values in. Next, you need to say what array you were working with, what array you want to loop through, and now you just did anything with those values, and we just decided to add them all to total to get the sum. Lastly, we just printed it out. So that's how you use an enhanced for statement. And remember, this is a for statement that's specialized to loop through all of the elements in your array so you can do something with them. So that's that for this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I will see you next tutorial. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your 30-second Java tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to pass arrays into methods. Now, I taught you guys how to make basic methods, and I also taught you guys how to use simple variables in methods, but arrays can be a little tricky, so that's what I'm going to teach you guys how to do this time. So before we start passing arrays into methods, we actually need an array. So let's go ahead and make one again called Bucky, and just make your array initializer and put 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, might as well. And that's that for now. So now that we have an array, we actually need to build a method to do something to this. So here's your main method right now. So go outside your main method, and again, make sure you're inside of your class by outside your main method, and go ahead and type public static void, and then name your method. I'm just going to name my change because I'm going to want to change my array. Now what you need here is the type and your local like how we built a variable last time. You want to do the same thing, but instead of having just a variable name, you want to put those square brackets over it, and that says that alright, we're going to be building a method here, and it's going to take a parameter of one array. So make sure you name a variable, which is actually an array, and add those square brackets, and that's how you tell that you're going to be putting an array in here. Next, go ahead and let's add something so we can put in our method that we just built. So in this method, what do we want to do to change our array? Let's just say we want to take all the values in our array and add 5 to them. Just add something real simple so I can show you guys. So just add a basic for loop to loop through it. But int counter, let me make sure I spell it right, set it equal to 0 because that's the first index. Counter is less than x length, and remember that's a built-in thing that Java knows. and then just add 1, and let's just put x counter and plus equal 5. And what this does right here is it takes all the indexes in the array and adds 5 to each value of them. So again, you should know what this does already. Don't forget to put it in a separate method aside from your main one. So now that we got a separate method built, and again, the most important thing probably in this tutorial is in this parameter, in this method, make sure to have an array instead of just a regular variable. So now back in our main method, what we want to do is just call the method. So how you do this is put the method name, and in your parentheses go ahead and write the array name. So mine is Bucky. And again, since Java already knows how long it is, you don't have to put how many elements, like 4 or 5. All you have to put is the name of the array. Since this is Bucky with this many elements, just put Bucky, and it knows automatically how many elements it's supposed to pass into your array. So now our array is changed. So we made an array, we changed it, so now we just got to print it out on the screen so we can see it. So let's use that enhanced for loop that we talked about in the last tutorial. And once I get my parentheses, int y, again this is called Bucky, and let's just put system out print line, and we'll print y. So that should work, I believe. So let's go ahead and run this, and as you can see, the original array was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and our new array is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it added 5 to the array which we wanted to do. So let me show you guys one last time what this does. We made an array like we did a million times called Bucky 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We next said, alright, take that array Bucky and pass it into the method change, where it says, alright, where's the method change? Oh, it's down here. So I took that array. Now what am I supposed to do to it? Oh, take each of the values and add 5 to them. Alright, I did that. Now let's come back here. Alright, what do you want me to do next? Well, just print it all out on the screen, and we know how to do that from last time. So make an array, change it, print it out on the screen. And again, the syntax is a little different than making a regular method, so pay attention, especially that you don't need a number right here, and also that you need to define your array right here. So aside from that, it's pretty simple. So pay attention to that, play around with it, and get good at it. And then once you're good, you can move on to my next tutorial. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned at least some of this. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Welcome to your 33rd tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys about multi-dimensional arrays. Now, people make multi-dimensional arrays whenever they want to do something like make a table in Java, or make something where you need coordinates. So again, or not again, for the first time, the syntax for making a multi-dimensional array is your array type, which is int in this case. First array, this is just the name of the array, and instead of just one square bracket, you actually add 2. The first one is for the row, and the second one is for the column. So how you create this is this, and this of course is a multi-dimension array initializer, and this is the easiest way to create multi-dimensional arrays. So you pretty much have your main array right here, but instead of just filling it with numbers 4, 5, 6, you actually fill them with other curly brackets where you can put something like 8, 9, 10, 11, and then anytime you want to go to a new row, just press comma, add new curly brackets, and put something like 12, 13, 14, 15. So what this would mean right here is you have an array with your first row being 8, 9, 10, 11, and your second row being 12, 13, 14, 15. So whenever these you want to call an element in your array, the first row, all of this, the first call is 0. So this would be first array 0, 1, first array 0, 2, like this. First array 0, 1, that's what I'm talking about when I say first array 0, 1, and this will point to this. And anytime you want to call something on your second row, it's first array 1, 0, first array 1, 1, first array 1, 2, 1, 3. So that's how you call elements in a multi-dimensional array. But what if you said, alright, I want to build a table, but I want it to have different column lengths. Can I do that? Sure can. So int second array, let's go ahead and create that. And instead of in your array having all the same row lengths, what you would do is this. Maybe in your first one you would put something like 30, 31, 32, 33, and then in your second row you would have something like 43, and then in your third row you'd have something like 4, 5, 6. So what this would do is create a table with 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. In the first row the columns would be 30, 31, 32, 33. In the second row it would only have one column, 43, and in the third row down it would have 3 columns, 4, 5, and 6. So again, how you would call or use the elements in this array, anytime you want to use this one, the first number you would put is 0, and then put the number of the element. So 0, 0, don't want to move that, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. This one would only have, you would be able to call 1, 0, and this one you'd be able to call 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. So that's how you call elements in a multi-dimensional array. And actually in the next tutorial I'm going to be building a program to output this so you can see visually what I mean and how you create a table with rows and columns. And once you see it, it's going to make complete sense to you, and it's going to be really easy. So that is the basics of a multi-dimensional array. Again, in the next tutorial I'm going to show you guys visually how to do this so it'll make a lot more sense to you. So thank you guys for watching. Please check out my next tutorial, and I will see you then. What's up guys, welcome to your 34th tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to create a visual table with our multi-dimensional arrays that we made in our last tutorial. So let's go ahead and make a whole new method to do this, since it will be a lot easier. And go ahead and write public static, spell it right, void main, and actually it's not main, give it a name like display or something, since it's displaying your array. And in your parameters, since it's going to be taking in a multi-dimensional array, just have it take one parameter in a multi-dimensional array. Easy enough. Now in the body of this display method, we're going to need to write 2 loops. One loop is going to loop through the rows, and one loop is going to loop through the columns. And actually the loop for the columns is going to be inside the loop for the rows. So go ahead and write your first for loop and put int row or something so you can see that it's looping through the rows, and just set that equal to 0, and then put row is less than x length or whatever you used up here, and then just put incremented by 1. And now inside this for loop we want another loop to loop through the columns. So let's put for and put int column OLUMN, there we go, equals 0, since we want to start at the 0th index. Then you want it to be, let's see, column is less than x, because that's what we passed into it, row, and then we want just the length of that. So what this would do is loop through the exact length, no more, no less. That's a neat little trick. So anytime you're making a for loop to do this inside, instead of just x length, because you don't want the length of that, you want the length of the row. So that's how you would do this. So and then just put increment by 1, COLUMN, can't spell column, there we go. And this is your syntax for your inside loop. Set it equal to 0, have it go until the end of the row, and just increment it by 1. So now for the body of text we need for this is we just want it to output the rows on the screen. So system out print, make a simple print statement and not a print line, because we want to have it in rows, and we don't want a new line every time, or that would be a new row. So let's go ahead and just print X row column. And what this is going to do is take the index of row, which is going to start at 0, and this is going to start at 0 every time, and this is going to print out our rows. And so let's just add a little spacer in between, a new tab, and this will just give us some space between our numbers. So now that we have another row, let's go ahead and just make a new line. So let's put system out print line. So here is the end. I forgot a semicolon right there. So here's what this method does. The first argument it takes is the row number, and the second argument it takes is the column number. It loops through, and what this does right here is it just prints a row. And what this does is when you get to the end of the row, it's going to move down a new line, so you print a new row. If I didn't have this, it would print everything all on one row, and I don't want that, so that's why I added this. So now we have a couple arrays, and we have a method to print out those arrays. Let's make sure I got my curly brackets in right. There we go. Should be good. So now I have arrays, a method to print out those arrays. Now let's actually call that method. So all we would do, let's make a print statement so we see what's going on. Print line, and just put something like, this is the first array. And to call this, what you would do is simply put display, since this is the name of our method, and you want to pass it an array. So let's go ahead and put first array, and again, you don't need, I spelled array with 3 R's, yes I did. And again, you don't need to put any number of elements since it already knows. So next, let's just do our other one, system out print line, and then just write this is the second array, and then just display that too. Not the splat, display second array. There we go. Should be good. So now let me run this, make sure it works, and I'll show you guys. And take note, in my first array there are 2 rows. The first row has 8, 9, 10, 11. Second row has 12, 13, 14, 15. And in my second row I have 3 rows with all different column lengths. So now if we look at this visually, in my first array, what's actually at first array, spelled that wrong, has 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in this row, and again that's this in the first row and this in the second row. And in my second array, let's see what I got, 30, 31, 32, 33, 4 values in the first row, this one in the second row, and 3 in the last row. So again, that's 4, 1, and then 3. So that's how you print out visually your table in a multi-dimensional array. So let me explain to you guys one last time how this works, and hopefully this will clear some things up. We went and we had ahead and made some multi-dimensional arrays using our 2 square brackets and kind of putting arrays in an array. That's what a multi-dimensional array is. This calls the function, or the method, excuse me, and what the method is, or how it works, is this. This is just housekeeping stuff. We want it to pass a multi-dimensional array. So we make a multi-dimensional array, we just name it X so we can use it in our method. So the first thing we do, this entire thing is a for statement right here, and this just loops through the rows, or the first ones, and inside that you need to loop through the columns, or the second one. And then we went ahead and just printed it out with spaces in between, and once we got to the end of a row, we just printed a whole new line. So that is how you do that. And again, what we did right here was called making a visual table using a multi-dimensional array. So again, just copy exactly as I did, and once you type it for yourself, you'll understand it a lot better. But for now, that's all I got for you for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll probably do something a little bit easier but just as useful. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you subscribe to my channel, and don't forget